of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Model Club TV, episode 100. What was that?
You know what that is?
No.
It's the C.
Yeah.
The C.
What's it got to do
Roman
with...
numeral for 100 is C.
Oh, my God.
School teacher.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right, how are you, Scott? How you doing? We're here 100 times. Did you ever think we would get to this point?
No.
Well, you haven't been here 100 times. I've been here 100 times. What are you reading? You know, we're doing a show.
To make sure it was C, I wanted to make sure.
Okay. How are you, Scott? How are things?
I'm great.
Yeah, 100 episodes. Let's
Itching.
stop.
I've got mite bites.
Way to class up the joint. I love it when you do that.
I'm not going. I got some jackets I'm taking care of here.
Good. Oh, man. All right, this episode, we have Marc Havican of Filmy's Girls joining us. A very much, is that the right way to say it? An often requested guest. Like, he's one of the top 5. And then we have Troy Naeyaert coming on to talk for us about 5-10 minutes about his new kit. So we got a lot going on this episode. With it being 100 episodes, it's a special one. So we'll see. How are you? Things good in life?
Things are great.
So let's first talk about, notice once again, he did not ask how I'm doing for the 98th time.
You've been on 98 times.
I said 98.
I haven't been on 98 times.
Oh, okay. What, 97?
I may not be on too anymore. You keep it up.
Well, I was going to say, are we going to keep going? Is this it? Are we ending?
Frickin' dullard Clark on here and see how that goes with his busted elbow. And
Are we ending the show at 100? Do we let people know?
What do you think? Should we?
I don't know. Maybe. I kind of felt like it today. I was like, it's a good place to end it.
Giveaways, though.
I know, we do. So yeah, we're going to keep going for the foreseeable future. And
we may scale back.
We may scale back at some point. It is getting, I think actually doing Model and Movie live helps a lot for me. So we'll see how these next couple months go. But other than that, I think we're good. So first thing I want to say, Roy Kirchhoff, I noticed on Facebook that he released a tape. Check out Roy.
Wow.
So if you're interested, it is TRE, the Roy Experience. And this is his own music. And if you remember way back when, he did a little end music for us. It was not very popular because Roy likes weird music like I do. And I started listening to this and I love it. I don't think Scott would love it. I love it. It's very ambient and it sounds quite a bit like soundtracky, creepy soundtrack music. And I love it. So head on over if you're interested. The Roy Experience, Roy Kirchhoff, hit him up. Maybe you can get one of his cassettes. And I love that it's a cassette. Do you have a working cassette player?
I probably do somewhere in the house. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so good. And it's my favorite colors. It's like orange and black. Love that. So thank you, Roy. And he also sent along an old compilation he was on. His other band, Slaughterhouse, which is, I haven't listened to it yet, but I love that art. That's cool.
Blizzard of Blood. That sounds right up your sicko alley. Okay.
All right. So thank you, Roy. Awesome. All right. Next. Our first episode. Do you know, Scott, you've already looked at the slideshow, didn't you? I was going to say if you could remember what the date was. Episode 1, June 18, 2020. 4 years ago. Holy cow.
That's when I was on my laptop, so I was actually faced this way.
Yeah, more than 4 years ago. And then Steve Riojas was there as well, but I didn't know if Steve would want us showing his picture. So I just took us two from that first episode. And things are very different in my background and yours, but kind of look the same 4 years on. I think my beard's a little more gray, but there we are 4 years ago.
Man, that was before 3D printing.
Yeah. There was a lot more room in this room back here. So again, I just want to go back real quick. Thank you everyone for the support for 100 episodes. It's been humbling at times. It's been fun at times. It's been frustrating at times. It's been maddening at times. But you know what? I guess that's life. And our guest, Mark, our interview, we've already conducted our interview. He said some really nice things in there, and they really, was very heartfelt and nice. So the stuff, and it leads.
How many times in this 4 years have you wanted to kill me?
100. Every time.
Wow.
How many times have you wanted to kill me? No, don't do your magic trick.
Funny you should ask.
Oh, no, here we go. Oh, it's your book of grievances? But can we
368 and a half time.
Okay. That makes sense. That checks out, actually. This kind of leads into the barbecue talk. I really, really I'm glad we did it.
And you didn't want to do it.
I was kind of on the fence about it, and I'm really glad we did it. So we got pictures from the barbecue. Ready, Scott?
Left to right.
Left to right.
Dan Cherney making his second barbecue appearance all the way from Ohio. And thank you, Dan, for making the trip. And
yes,
he's been struggling lately with some stuff, but he still wanted to come out, and he sent us a couple nice texts and emails afterwards.
Yep. One of the what a nice dude.
Yeah,
just
super nice guy.
Yeah.
Greg Damian,
also a nice guy.
A fellow veteran of Disco Demolition Night with me.
Which we found that's crazy that you were both there.
Yeah. And he was a little older than I was.
But hey, you were there.
Big Daddy Dave Horvath of Nostalgic Resin Productions. He was here hawking kits, because, he's not just here for the company. Mark and Shanna Worthling, who we spent the night before with them as well. You and Jamie and Joanne and I and Mark and Shanna. All the way from Florida, they came for this fiasco. Okay.
Yeah.
And had a great time. Then there's me, good-looking guy. Next to another good-looking guy, Vince Simonelli.
Yep. The
Then
best-looking guy.
There's Jason Walker and his twin brother, Bill Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay. And then our next picture
spouses.
Some of the spouses
and
that
girlfriends.
came with Bill's wife, Tracy, who I'm never speaking to again. Dave Horvath's wife, Lois, she's just so nice. I don't know what she's doing with him. She could do so much better. There's Jamie again, same deal. Do so much better. And then there's my wife, Joanne, who put a lot of work into the thing.
She did. Thank you, Joanne.
Is a great hostess.
She is.
And then staring up at me is Trixie the Wonder Dog.
Yep. And then here we have Trixie again, but it's me and you. And my mom showed up and brought us gifts. She bought us each a case of beer, which you don't drink, but she brought us 6 packs of beer that had to do with each of us. Mine says Good Hearted Ale, and yours is
Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Which is pretty funny.
And you'll notice, by the way, the shirt I had on when Jason's mom showed up.
Yes.
Trixie, greeting all our visitors.
Yes. And then this picture is who, Scott?
This is my lovely friend, Valerie Walker, Jason's mom.
There's my mom.
I wonder if she even noticed my dog's giving her the sniff test there.
Yeah. How did so the night before you figured out they were coming? You just had a hunch?
I had a hunch, and
or did
then
someone tip you off?
Told us. No one tipped me off.
Okay.
I remember early on saying you should invite them. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the barbecue was great. Thank you
Jason's
everybody
parents,
for coming.
I want to say Jason's parents were fantastic. Jason's dad is a riot.
He thinks he
mom, she was such a good sport with me the whole day. put up with my nonsense. She flipped me off when she first got there.
She flips me off all the time.
And then, and then I knew I was okay. Okay. So, but it was, that was a good time. And I'm glad they came.
Yeah. We will be doing it again.
Yeah. And Jason's parents, of course, had to see that there were other crazy people.
It was great. My whole life of hearing, you need to sell stuff. And then I take her into Scott's basement and she's like, oh my God, it's not that bad.
No, Scott took her into Scott's basement.
Well, yeah, I let her go down there.
And I couldn't get rid of the followers because I had a couch down there all ready to go. But, we had people down there with us. So, I even had $50.
Oh!
You told me it would be way more than that. So
she did. She did say that.
But again, good sport.
All right. No, it was a great time. And again, thank you for hosting. Thank you for allowing us to be there. And thank you for everyone who made the trip, long or close.
And my deck survived this time.
I didn't drip grease everywhere.
You even got the grill going when we had a problem.
Yeah, there was a grill issue. So we got it going. All right. So let's move on to the rest of the show. We got a lot going on here today. Like we said, we have long interview, which will be good. And we have this. We have some announcements. I don't even know if Scott knows this announcement.
Well, yeah, because I saw the announcement and I go, oh, we did?
I told you this months ago.
I know, but then it never came back up.
So here we go. Oh, Fantastic Plastic Resin and Vinyl Festive Model Competition opens Halloween 2024. So let me read. I got some info here for you. And again, for those of you who don't know, it'll probably be in here repeated again. But Fantastic Plastic Resin and Vinyl is a Facebook group. And they do some free contests over there. And let's just get into the info. As we rapidly approach Halloween and the opening of this year's much anticipated Fantastic Plastic Resin and Vinyl Model Competition, we're absolutely delighted to announce that this year Scott and I have been asked again. Thank you, Avram, for writing a script in Jason's point of view, so I don't have to think about changing words. Scott and I have been asked by Avram Buchanan and Russell Roby to be the judges for the competition. This will be the third year for the popular and free-to-enter competition is open to all FPRNV members. This is a fully online competition held on the FPRNV Facebook group. So you don't have to do any traveling, you don't have to transport your delicate kits, and you have nearly 3 months to get your build ready with the opportunity to refine or change your chosen submission right up until the 1st of December. To enter, all you need to do is submit photos or a video of your kit as a comment to the dedicated post on the group when it opens on Halloween. The competition closes on the 1st of December for judging by Scott and myself. So this means there will now be a very special episode of Model Club TV late December to show all the entries for Scott and I to announce our chosen first, second, and third place winners, plus our highly commended choices. A number of major model producers have offered exclusive prizes for the winners and their sponsorship of the event. Details of these prizes will be listed on the FPRNV Facebook group when released, and we will keep you updated too. So, time now for you to select, prepare, build, paint, or just dust off built models to enter the competition when it opens on Halloween, but don't rush as you have until December 1st to enter. And just to remind all newcomers to the group, this is an annual event, and yes, it is absolutely free to enter. There will be a dedicated festive model competition post for you to enter your photos and or videos of your model. Full rules and details will be listed on the FPRNV prior to the competition opening. So please, and that was from Avram Buchanan. It's a great Facebook group. Between that and 3D prints and Garage Kits, Garage Kits 3D prints, they're my two favorites right now. And I gotta say, we're gonna do our best to pick the best, but it's gonna be hard. Oh my gosh.
I can be bought.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay. I just want everyone to know I can be bought. Okay. All right. Everyone that says they don't have a price, that's bullshit. Okay. Everyone has a price, so I can be bought. I'm just saying.
I don't have a price. So
my ass, you don't have a price.
I don't have a price. So I haven't decided if we're going to make the judging as part of a regular episode, or I think we'll just do a separate dedicated mini episode for just this so that people can see it a little easier. So awesome. We're so excited to be a part of this and be the judges. And we'll see how it goes. So there we are. Festive model competition. Get your entries in. All right. The next thing, what we got up. Next announcement. And this is from Scotty Mills. It's that time of year again, everybody. Yep. Gentlemen, great work on the show. I try not to miss an episode, although I sometimes stretch it out over a few days, which is the right way to do it. I don't expect anyone to sit here for 2 hours. I wanted to put
old. He can only stay away for an hour at a time.
I know.
And then
He's old.
You know.
I wanted to put in a plug for the Chiller Theater model contest being held as part of Chiller Theater Convention 25 through the 27th of October at the Hilton Parsippany, New Jersey. The model contest is a one-day affair on the Saturday with early entry on Friday night for those so inclined. As you know, we have been working hard to bring this back and restore some of its former glory. Based on a lot of recent trends and to encourage more entries, we have changed the categories for the models. They are now busts, any scale, full-size figure, 1/9 and larger, miniature figures, 1/10 and smaller, diorama, any scale, miniature group or vignette, 3 or more miniatures, scratch-built, vehicle hardware in the youth category, as well as the Judge's Best, People's Choice, and the Grand Poobah Award for the entry that appeals most to Kevin Clement's horror sensibilities. The winners of every category will receive, as a prize, a kit donated by our generous sponsors. All the entry fees are given as a cash prize for the Poobah Award. Hopefully, the new categories will suit the changing tastes and interests of the hobby. I talked to a lot of folks at Wonderfest to convince them to enter some kits. For those of you who live in the vicinity, it can be a quick day trip. You don't have to spend the weekend. You can just come down for Saturday. If you have an entry, you get to jump to the head of the entry line, or if you are there for a couple days, you can bring your kit in on Friday night. With no Jersey Fest this year, this is an opportunity for folks in the Northeast or even Canada to show off your work and meet some fellow modelers. Although the number of entries is nowhere near the bigger shows, the quality of the work is impressive. And we are not as restrictive as Wonderfest on our entries. For example, we do allow visible nipples. Thank you for your support, and I hope to see you. Let me start that over. Thank you for your support, and it's getting late. Mumbles, it's 10 o'clock. Thank you for your support, and I hope to see some really great work come October. Scotty Mills. So cool. For those of you in the area, Chiller's happening again. Model contest. Let's do it.
Here we go.
All right, we have giveaways. So first up, which one do you want to do first? The Librarian or Poe?
Let's do Poe.
All right, we are going to do Poe first, as Scott suggested. So let's go over to the Wheel of Giveaways. And
The Wheel of Poe.
It worked. The Wheel of Poe. All right. So
If Edgar Allan Poe had lice, would he have Poe lice?
If he didn't have a lot of money, would he be Poe? Poor? Would he be Poe? Pretty good. All right. I got it all packed up for you from Nostalgic Resin Productions. Thank you once again. Two wonderful donations this episode. There it is. It's ready to go. Just for you. Scott, tell me when to stop shuffling.
Nah.
Spinning. And the winner is
David Horvath.
Mike Ziamba. Mike Ziamba is our winner.
Yay!
Awesome. Okay. We got that. Something cool came through, Scott. Someone told me that the reason the parrot was in the episode was because, I think it was Steve Marciante who just emailed me, that they needed her to be able to talk to someone so she didn't seem crazy. And do you think a lot of people knew the name, or did they have to look it up?
You know, hard to say.
All right. I'm going to start shuffling. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Spinning. There we go. And thank you once again, David Horvath, for the awesome giveaways. And this is Raccoon Eyes 2099 is our winner. Raccoon Eyes 2099. I'll be dead by that year. All right. Those are our giveaways. All right. So it's episode 100, Scott. What do you want to give away from your kit prize stash? I got something. What are you going to give away?
I'm going to give away, because just celebrated a birthday as well, I believe. From Pestilence Labs.
Ooh, okay.
Because it's our 100th episode.
Ooh.
We're going to give away a good one.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to give away an Aurora box art Godzilla kit. Sculpted by Jeff Yeager.
That's a good
donated by Mark and Shannon Worthling of Pestilence Labs. And in order to win this, you have to type in the comments, Godzilla is still second to King Kong. What do you think?
Scott's rules. Scott's rules on this giveaway.
No,
all right.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
How about, I got it. Go Godzilla.
Go Godzilla.
That's what you got to type in the comments. Go Godzilla.
Go Godzilla.
For your chance to win a Pestilence Labs Godzilla Aurora box art tribute kit. Good? Go Godzilla. Okay,
Go Godzilla.
I'm going to give away out of my prize stash because I'm hoping to get them on next episode. From Creature Crafters, Ed Bradley and Eric Askew, who I think we're going to try and have on, which is, I haven't opened this yet, which is, this should be the Hellboy.
We had both those guys on before. I know we had Eric on before.
Separately. We've had them on.
Separately.
We're going to try and have them both on at the same time coming up here.
Okay.
So he gave me back at Wonderfest, I was waiting for the right opportunity. He gave us we got two bases. Let me get those out a second. It's two busts, two little mini busts. They're a good size though. We've got Hellboy. Ooh. Hellboy.
Please don't drop it.
I'm not going to drop it. And Abe Sapien. Two really cool, sort of like original designs, original sculpts. And we'll get more info on them next time, but I just want everyone to see what's up. And I love this print. So this is the one I don't want to drop. Look at how delicate those fins are. So, don't break that, Jason. So, you're going to get both of these as a set. We're not splitting them up. So, you're going to get the Abe and Hellboy. Let me put that back up there. All right. So, in order to win these, you are going to type in the comments, I hope the Crooked Man is good. That's the new Hellboy movie coming out. And I'm fingers crossed that the Crooked Man is good. So I'm hoping with enough good mojo in the chat that the movie will be okay. So I hope the Crooked Man is good to get in for the Hellboy set with Hellboy and Abe. Please don't drop it. Please don't drop it. Da-da-da-da. Great. Thank you from Creature Crafters. Check them out. I'll put the links down below. And there will also be a link for Pestilence Labs. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Those are our giveaways for next episode. The winners from this episode, send me an email with your information, and we'll get those out to you. Okay? All right, Scott. News and reviews. Ow! What would an episode without me getting tangled and ripping this out of my... What the...
Johansson held hostage.
I can't hear you. What are you saying?
Day 24 of
He's
this
talking trash
moron
about
fucking
me.
the show up again. 100 episodes.
I'm tangled.
He still can't untangle himself from
tangled.
the fucking fight. Because
what
he's
does he say?
No one can help it.
What'd you say?
His parents are idiots. Nothing.
All right.
Oh.
You're hurtful. You're very hurtful sometimes.
Don't care. I'm lucky if I got 6-7 years left. I give a shit about
that's
these
true.
days. Okay.
That's true.
Good luck.
Maybe they'll figure out how to use like a cow heart instead of a pig heart.
Maybe
Or
I'll
kidney.
reach into your past your cirrhosis liver and grab one of your kidneys with my bare hands and leave you in a bathtub full of ice.
I'll be like, I'll wake up, Johansson.
There you go.
That Norwegian thief. All right. So first up, Nostalgic Resin Productions. We just talked about with our giveaways. Has this coming out? Gonna read some stuff. Nostalgic Resin Productions has finalized plans for the Lost Love kit in 2 scales. The 1/8 scale will be $90 shipped to the lower 48. This measures right at 10 1/4 inches tall with the base. We have added some stone texture to the base, reworked the costume and sandals to better match what we saw on screen, and reworked the face slightly for a better likeness than the test print we showed at Wonderfest. Shipping will start the first week of October, and we're now taking names for the list of those interested. As always, no payment or deposits required until your kit is ready to ship. We will also be offering a 1/6 version of the same sculpt later in October.
I'm still stuck on waffering.
I know. It's after
Okay.
10 o'clock at night, and my mouth goes sideways. In October, we are spacing those out a couple weeks. The price on the 1/6 scale will be $170 shipped. That scale will be around 14 inches tall with the base. We are accepting names for that kit list as well. Message me with your name and address and scale. I have some business travel this week, but we'll check in on evenings as best I can. Thank you, Dave. So I want to just real quick, let's go through some pictures. So when at Wonderfest, he realized that he was missing a lot of detail from the stills with the hat or the headdress, and some of the parts on her dress and the sandals and things. So I think it turned out really, really nice. Really nice. It'll be a challenge if you look at what the dress actually looks like to try and paint some of the patterns around there. But this picture gives
Also
you
going to be a challenge because the upper torso has the arms attached.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get in there and paint it.
There's some techniques you can do to kind of limit that if you.
But yeah, there is room. I'll say there is room.
And I've been a lot of times, like I've been doing lately, is priming everything black, and it's that area is in shadow anyway. You can kind of leave that darker as you go. So it's a really, really nice piece. Cool piece. So, all right.
And what will each kit come with?
Each kit will come with a print by Aaron, which again, he does this with all his kits, and they're all really cool little art pieces that his daughter does. We have that coming. All right. Next. And this was, I grabbed it, but he sent me the info today. So I was just going to have everybody go and look. Jerry Freight is back with more Warriors goodness. Hello, Model Club TV. Guess what he's sending us? I'm sending out a Baseball Furies kit for a giveaway. So we will be giving one of these away shortly. Hope it arrives before you start recording the next episode. Nah, that didn't happen. But we'll have it for the next time. Also, attached are pictures of the new kit. Available in 2 scales, 1/8 for $70 plus shipping, and 1/6 scale, $125 plus shipping. Kit consists of 10 pieces total, including extra head and a head holder. This was one of the characters most requested after I introduced the Swan. Hope everyone likes. I understand why, because the Baseball Furies in that movie are creepy as all get out. And I think this is awesome.
I like that the extra head is a baseball.
Isn't that cool? The little head holder is cool as hell. So another winner here, Jerry, in your Warriors line. So there's the difference in the 2 sizes. I think it's fantastic. Really cool piece. Keep them coming, Jerry. Really, really nice stuff. And then, let me get, all right. So good job, Jerry. We're looking forward to seeing that. And again, we will have one to give away. A couple episodes. All right, up next. And this was good. You know what? I'm going to start doing it more. I was telling Scott, I put out that show warning, the deadline coming up, and we got some people that normally haven't sent stuff in a while. So we have something from George Stevenson. Jason and Scott, Blackheart has just released 4 new Star Trek busts based on characters from Star Trek The Next Generation. The first set of busts includes Captain Picard and Commander Data, sculpted by Thomas Kuntz. Lieutenant Worf, sculpted by John Dennett, and the Borg Queen, sculpted by Joe Simon. So there's our Picard. I'm going to go through them all real quick. Picard, Worf, Data, Borg Queen. All right, I'm going to go back. Some of the busts in this line are modified versions of the original figures produced by Geometric Design in the 1990s, licensed by Paramount Pictures and approved by the individual actors in the 1990s. The plan is to introduce other characters from the Star Trek Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager. The busts retail at $45 and stand about 6 inches tall on the base. By the way, these are so new that we haven't listed them in our website store yet. Hope to get all that done in the next couple of days. All right, Scott, what do you think? We got Picard.
So which 2 did Dennett do?
Dennett did Worf. He just did Worf.
Okay. I was going to say, because Dennett did the original Worf for them.
So then this is based off of
and
that.
That was the best, to me, that was the best of the group.
That is a great likeness.
Was the Worf.
The Borg Queen here, the Data looks really good. They all look like who they're supposed to. The likenesses are great.
Yeah, I would like someone to someday do the Worf, though, with the ponytail that he had at the end of the series. Yeah. This is more the earlier Worf with the shorter hair, but it's beautiful. It's
and then the Borg Queen comes with some wires as well to work on the back of her head. Really cool stuff. Thank you, George, for sending these in. So get on over to Blackheart. Links for everything you see here. Links will be down below. So we have that. Awesome. All right. Another person that sent something in is Mike Allen. Hey guys, something I've been playing around with. I've never done a military subject before, but I love the show Masters of the Air. So he's not sure if he wants to kit this yet. So if you're interested in this, maybe drop Mike Allen a line over on Facebook and just, hey man, make that kit. It's a really nice looking pilot figure.
That is really nice looking.
Yeah.
Did you say you sculpted it?
No. I'm assuming it. I don't know. He said he's playing around with it. Could he have sculpted it? Perhaps.
I don't know. I don't know.
More info, head on over to Mike Allen's Facebook page or Forbidden Zone and drop him a line. This is really nice. Yeah, it's cool. For military people, it's right up your alley. So good. All right. Then we have a re-release coming from the next few are Pestilence Labs, the great people at Pestilence Labs. Jason and Scott. Just an update on the Revenge of the Creature kit, which is Jaeger Classics number 4, which he acquired the rights to. Originally released by Exo Facto, the kit is $199 plus $20 shipping within the US. New engineering added to improve the mounting to the anchor, which I have pictures of here. Molds and casting by Bradley Worley. First 10 kits have already shipped. Taking payments now for the next group of 10. Get it while it's resin hot. Pictures added to show off the new engineering and the attachment to the anchor. Let me know if you have any questions. Was there a previous issue with that, Scott? Do you remember? Or was it?
Well, I would say just looking at it, there would be an issue with it.
Yeah. So you got a metal rod running through the anchor now that goes into a metal socket sitting inside the figure.
The whole rod the whole anchor, if I saw right, was a metal frame inside.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to have any sagging issues. See, that's how I wish they almost did the X Plus did their Revenge of the Creature more like that. Instead of the standing underwater pose.
And I'll have one to review.
Okay. Ooh, will you? Nice.
I'm on the list. One of the few things
I
bought recently on the list.
So get on that list. All right. Guess what, Scott?
What?
We get to debut a kit.
Yes, we do.
You ready? Here it is.
There it is.
You guys get to debut this kit. I won't post any more pictures until your show airs. So no one has seen this till right now.
Well, they've seen the head, I think.
Seen the head. Here is The Groom, a new 1/6 scale figure of Karloff as Frankenstein from the film The Bride of Frankenstein. The kit is 1/6 scale and is a companion kit to our 1/6 scale Bride of Frankenstein. And there it is with the bride. Because this is where he's trying to get her. She's kind of walking towards him and he's like,
So I'm going to laugh at you because you just said Boris Karloff as Frankenstein. And you always bitch about that. Okay?
No, I was reading it. I read it.
Okay. I
was reading.
You always bitch about it.
I do. Boris Karloff as the monster from the film. Kit is 1/6 scale. 100% traditional resin castings. $199 plus shipping. Molds by Mark Brokaw. Casting by Mark Worthling. Let me know if you have any questions. Scott, what do you think?
I'll have to get it because I have the bride.
This is really nice. This is really nice.
Do you have the bride?
I don't. I was going to get it and I haven't got it yet. Oh, it's really nice. Okay. There's our kit debut. I hope this does well for Mark. I think it will. Beautiful. Show some more pictures. Go through. Okay. We have an update. Quick update on the Karloff Pierce 2. The kit is 1/6 scale, 2-figure diorama, sculpted by Jeff Yeager, 100% traditional resin castings, except for the bee smoker. That is 3D printed. Price is $325 plus shipping. All molds are 100% done, and production casting will begin in mid-September. Box art paint-up is underway by Rick Lindy. Attached is a sneak peek at the base, which Rick has already completed, along with the obelisk nameplate. There's some behind-the-scene pictures. There's some molds. Also, check out the instructions, which will come with the kit, which is sized to 11 by 17 inches.
I gotta say, Rick Lindy did a beautiful job on this. Just the base already.
Let me get. Wait, I have to get to that picture. Oh, nope. Where's the picture of the base? There it is. Let me go back. Castings by Bradley Worley. Base elements by Mark Worthling. Kit is still available to get on the list. Just message Mark Worthling on the Facebook Messenger or email at pestlabs1966@gmail.com. All that information will be down below. Updates will be posted very soon on Jaeger Army, Pestilence Labs, and I Am Co site. Let me know if you have any questions, Mark. So yeah, here you go. Karloff Pierce 2. Good stuff. I love seeing molds being made.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I'm glad he sent those pictures. Hey, people, send in more mold pictures. That stuff. So we have up next, we have Troy coming in. And Troy is going to talk about his new, what's got?
Neil Peart, Rush tribute piece.
So here we are. Here's Troy introducing his new kit. All right, we are back with Troy Naeyaert, everyone, of Shadow Creations. He has a new kit out, a new line starting, and we thought it would be cool to bring him on, kind of do a little quick kit introduction. So Troy, thanks for joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a while and been following you guys. You continue to keep growing.
Awesome. Yeah, we did. We went up another 10, I think. So that's good.
Awesome.
And you keep growing. You got some new stuff coming out. Some really cool. You have your new Jaeger Classic relaunch that came out recently too. How'd that do for you?
That's doing really well. Still got about 15 more to go off the list.
Okay.
And about 30.
So as you
Okay,
got,
so want the money-making idea now or later?
Give it to me now.
Okay, sell the fire and the extra head as a separate piece to those of us that already had the one. Okay,
That's
now
an
we can add the fire and the head if we want. So
exactly.
there you go. Just run with it. If it works, buy your wife a new diamond like the Worthlings did, and I mean, I let you go on the fireplace thing, but this is it. So
all right.
yeah.
Well, there's Scott. He's an idea guy.
I'm an idea man.
He's not a doing things guy. He's an idea guy.
I am an idea guy. I have an idea to get rid of you.
All right. So your new line. So let me get over to the web window to show some things here. Shadow Creations. Where do people find you right off the bat if they're interested in looking into this stuff? Best place to buy your stuff.
Right now it's on Facebook. They can just look up my Facebook page, Shadow Creations, and or send me an email.
Yeah, and there will be a link down below as well. So there you go.
Okay. Working on a website.
Your new line is called
Rock Legends.
Rock Legends. So let's stop there for a second. How long have you had this idea in the back of your head to like kind of start branching out into more like non-traditional garage kit ideas and themes?
Probably last year that launched after a conversation with Lace Lee. He's a big rock and roll guy. He said he's been wanting to do some kits. And I said, well, I've been wanting to do some kits. So here we are. We are actually starting the line. And first up is, of course, Neil Peart from Rush. And depending how that goes from there, we already got some more planned.
Excellent. So let's start here. Neil Peart. I
Neil
will
Peart,
not
you do know
lie.
who that is, don't you, Jason?
I know it's a drummer from Rush because I can look at the picture.
That's it. Yep, the professor. Yeah.
And I know that only because I think when he died, someone told me who he was.
Gotcha.
But
Troy, this is what I.
So this is why I'm glad Scott's here, because he knows more of the Rush side of things. So both of you, well, Scott not being a huge Rush fan, but you, Troy, being a huge Rush fan, is that why you chose this? Why did you choose Neil Peart to be the number one in this line of new kits coming?
Well, probably the main reason is I've been drumming for about 30 years. And Rush has always been a band of mine to listen to. I would always try to do some of the stuff that Neil did, you know, try to learn some of his fills and different things. And he was always a drummer in a band that they could take you through numerous time signatures and you didn't even know it. It was switching from 7/8 to 4/4 to whatever it is. They were taking you through this journey. And I've always just admired his ability to drum to anything, including he went on for the Buddy Rich Classic and he did big band with the Buddy Rich Band, which was way out of his.
Yeah.
But here he was doing the swing thing and of course, he did it well.
I love when bands do that. That take something totally crazy. There's an electronic band I listen to that does stuff with orchestras once in a while. And I love to see when they do stuff like that.
You know,
really
this
cool.
reminds me of an old joke, Troy.
Uh-oh.
What do they call a guy? What do they call a guy that hangs out with musicians? A drummer. Okay.
That is a good one. If I could reach my drum, I'd give you the symbol.
There you go.
I know a drummer very well, and I know two drummers very well, and they're in like 10 bands. Like that's because there's not enough drummers, so they do 10 different bands at the same time.
Yep, it does. So he was a natural for me, just to have something to put out in the music wing here, and Lace Lee did a good job on him.
I was gonna say, and I think that like when I was looking at your pictures up close, I will be honest, I don't know what Neil looks like. So Troy, the likeness, how'd it turn out? There's two different heads. Talk about that option.
Yes. I wanted some the younger Neil, capturing him in his early years, 80s, 70s, and then of course the later years of Neil when he got more, his look changed. To me, he got more sophisticated. Just everything kind of changed with him. And I believe he even took his drums to another level at that time. So yeah, the younger head, which you probably really can't see it, but this was the younger head of him, you know, with the hair. You know, he's got all the...
Yeah, that's like the 2112 Farewell to King's head. Yeah.
Yes, with the mustache. And then you've got, you know, when the older Neil. And I really enjoy, I think Lace really hit these. And as I put them on the drums, I'm painting one up now. But as I put the heads on, it just brings a different look to each head. Whatever head you put on there, just brings a different look to it.
I will say the other thing I want to compliment Lace on here is the machining, like sculpting organic and sculpting mechanical thing. It's not mechanical, but a drum has metal parts in the flat edges, and it's really cool. Like the difference between his arm folds and the cloth to the I don't know, what do you call them? The stands for the drums that are holding the drums, part of the kit.
The tom holders and the cymbal stands, and
it's great stuff. How hard of that is that going to be to cast? Is it going okay?
It's going pretty good. This one's going to be traditionally 3D printed. I'm not going to have it molded and cast.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm doing I had Mike Van Scoy set up everything. He put the holes in it for me. He did all the supports. He got it, did some test prints. and these things are coming out really well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I talked to him about this. He told me a few of the adjustments you guys had to make, like the cymbals were real thin.
Yep. Lace
and wouldn't print real well. So, but
drum too. The bass drum wasn't in a high enough definition. It was showing, I don't know, lines, if you will. So Lace had to go back and kind of redo that a little bit, and now they're coming out nice and smooth.
I got to say though, Lace is really easy to work with because I've printed a couple of his things for various people.
Yes.
And he's so easy to work. When you go in and say, "Hey, can you fix this?" It's always no problem, and I'll take care of it, and the prints look really clean. These are probably Mike's prints that are up, or are these your prints that are up?
Yeah, with the red back.
Yeah, with the red, yeah.
Mike's, yep. And I got one here with me that I got Mike's here, and then I've got ones in there I'm painting and printing, and they come out really, really nice.
Can we talk about the bass for a second? All the symbols around the bass.
Yes.
Kind of let people know who don't know anything about Rush. Kind of describe why you put those things into the bass.
It contains a little bit of everything. You've got the bass from the album counterparts, where you've got all the different signals and different designs all around the bottom of the bass. You've got the dice on the sides from Roll the Bones album. On the back, you've got the Star Guy from 2112. And then the late idea I gave him was to add the owl from Fly By Night, and that he sits on the back of it to kind of finish that off. And it's really like homage to their albums.
Yeah. I really like that you put all that stuff in there. Packed it in. It's a good base. Like, to give people an idea, this is a Rush kit. That's really cool.
Yes,
Awesome,
it's a pretty good size.
Yeah, what is the size exactly?
A 1/6 scale is what Mike. We were going to try to do it a quarter scale, but Jason, you know what that looks like doing Abbott and Costello.
Yes, I do.
So he said it would make more sense to do 1/6 scale. So that's what we ended up going with it. And he said you could offer a 1/4 scale. I don't know if I'm up for that challenge to make a bigger one of these.
Yeah.
So we kind of settled in on the 1/6.
Trust me, it sucks.
It does.
Well, I printed those Robin Hoods and the roller balls for Rob, and
oh yeah,
big is big, man. I mean, the base on the one is like a plate. Okay, it's like I could turn it over and eat cereal out of it. But
and that's the thing I'm still learning with this 3D stuff is hitting that scale, getting that niche, and also thinking about how am I going to print this thing?
Yeah.
And I think that I'm learning more and more now. Mike is just like a wealth of knowledge. He is just like telling me we got to watch this, and like one of them when on the symbols that come out, and I said, hey, I'm getting spur. I'm getting those marks when you take the supports off. Of course, then we went through what resin you're using. We went through all that, and he said basically you're still a little bit hot on that. You gotta change the exposure, and that took care of it. It just I'm learning as I'm going, but yet I'm learning this.
It's the best way to do it. It's to learn as you go.
Casting is not that easy. Even 3D printing, you got to change everything. You got to get it right. You get it dialed in, and then the printer starts going.
And then it just fails for no reason sometimes.
Exactly. I had 2 failures on the base. Yep.
You got a price still yet for people?
What I'm thinking, it's going to be in the 145 to 150.
Okay.
Is where I'm shooting for.
And you get a nice chunk of kit for that price. Really? That is not like, yes, that is cool.
Yeah. I try to keep things affordable, because shelf space premium nowadays.
Oh, it sure is. It definitely is.
You can't collect everything anymore.
Well, that's for sure.
No, you can't.
That is for sure.
I'm looking forward to the paint on this. And there's so many things you can do with the drums themselves, like pearl effect if you wanted to. I mean, there's so many things you could do there with that.
Yeah, that's going to be. I even thought of trying to put in some of the designs he had on his custom drums that EW did for him on some of the tours. With the singles on the bottom, they were mixed on the drum.
So How many times have you seen Rush?
Myself, probably about 5 times.
Okay.
Yep. Other times I wish I would have went, but I didn't go. And
I got 3. Almost 4, but 3. So
Okay.
I got 3.
And we shouldn't ask Jason, right?
0.
No, the only Rush he knows is Rush Street, probably.
I do.
Okay.
The Viagra Triangle. Yes, I do know that area.
Viagra triangles. So let me ask you this. What was your first introduction to Rush?
My first introduction to Rush was actually probably about at the age of 19, 20. I started drumming at 13. And then I started hearing these songs and thinking, man, who's playing drums on that? So I started exploring a little bit. Then I started buying albums. Then I was watching videos of them. Then I went and seen them. And it just was, it's a band. It's a different band. It's like a band like Tool, Dream Theater, things that do this progressive rock, but yet the drummer isn't just staying in the pocket. A lot of times he's leading it.
Well, and it's funny you say progressive rock, because I like a lot of the progressive rock. Yes.
Yep.
Earlier Genesis, when it was still kind of progressive rock. And I'm okay with the pop Genesis too, but I liked a lot of the earlier Genesis, the progressive rock. Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Absolutely.
I still like Peter Gabriel music, stuff like that, which to me is more progressive rock, King Crimson, stuff like that. And so I was always amazed. Like sometimes I would go stand in line for Yes tickets, per se. And there'd be people that were Rush shirts on. And it's like, I never looked at Rush as progressive because it had a harder edge to it, I guess. I wouldn't call them heavy metal, though, either. Okay. And so it was like, to me, they were always kind of in between. So it's always, when I see them lumped into the progressive rock, I go back to more of the 70s progressive rock, where to me, these guys they were a little harder, than what I was used to for that genre.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you, Scott. I've just always been, you put 3 great musicians together, a phenomenal guitar player, bass, and drums, and you get Rush. I mean, they set the bar.
Coming up, I don't know if you want to give a hint at where you're going with the line, or, what do you foresee the future of this line? Where do you think it's going to take us?
Well, I think the next one is already in my mind, and Lace and I have talked about it. Depending on how this one goes, is going to be Eddie Van Halen. I want to go and hit these legends.
That's a good choice. That is a good next step, I think.
Yeah. So for me, right now,
although painting that guitar is going to suck.
Oh,
why? It's straight masking.
Yeah, but to get the lines right, unless
if Lace etches them, here you go, Troy. You ready? If Lace gently etches them into the guitar so they're not that noticeable when you paint it.
But then I saw to see that is a good idea, but it's like that is a sculptor question. And
yes,
because to see those lines in the guitar when the guitar should have that glass smooth finish.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Dang.
Well,
good luck.
Oh boy, here we go with the good luck. Yeah.
Scott knows my good luck stories.
Eddie Van Halen will probably be next, and then there's been talks of maybe doing all of the Beatles as one as a tribute. Just
so would it be Fab Four Beatles or later Beatles?
And that's the question. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth with that. You could do them from their final thing with the long hair and the beards, or you do the set and you just change the heads
or do you do Sgt. Pepper, or do you I mean they change their look almost as much as they change their music.
I think a very nice Fab Four Beatles would be really cool. Mm-hmm. I also think a Sgt. Pepper's one would be really cool, even with some of those characters, those cartoon characters that go like incorporated into the bass somehow with Sgt. Pepper's. Or a Yellow Submarine bass. How about that?
Yeah. So
or you do cardboard cutouts for the Sgt. Peppers, and so they can stack everything in front of it. There you go. Another idea, Troy.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, Troy, This has been fantastic. Thanks for joining us. I hope this does really well for you, because we've talked on the show that this is something that Garage Kit needs. It is more of like spreading out into other topics, and I there is a big hole of music kits that I think could be filled. So this is great. It's really cool.
You don't see yourself doing any gwar or anything like that?
I am. It is gwar. It is not gwar. It's
gwar, whatever. Okay.
I will be doing the first odorous kit.
Or any of those other Nazi punk musics that you listen to.
Oh my God.
Satan worship, whatever it is you got going over there. So
well, it's funny when you're saying some of the older bands. I've gotten a few requests from people to do the Ramones. You know,
the Ramones are very popular, and I'm not a fan.
No. I think that, but if you're looking at the pantheon of music, like I am not a Rush fan, but I understand why there should be this kit. I understand why there should be an Eddie Van Halen. I understand why there should be some of these other ones, the Beatles and stuff. Absolutely, the Ramones is a good, like, that's they deserve it. And that's Garage Kit is like the punk rock of modeling. Like it always was. It was always underground. It was anti-establishment. It was not against. It was like doing the little thing, the big middle finger to Monogram or Ravel. Like we're making our own stuff, and it has that rock and roll feeling, and it's a great place for garage kids to go. So yeah, excellent, man.
Ian Anderson, Jethro Tull. Yeah.
Troy, give your contact info one more time.
Yes, you can contact me at shadowcreations@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Shadow Creations.
Okay, and links will be down below. And
Creations with a K.
Yep, Creations with a K. K.
Hey,
right?
yep.
Is that a K? That works. Thanks, Troy, and have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Troy, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Troy, anyone who has a kit coming out and you want to do little vignettes like that, drop us a line. We'll bring you on for a few minutes, introduce your kit. All right, up next is something that's near and dear to my heart that I found. Wow. So I had the company name wrong. It's Bullet Brand. I'm voiceovering Bullet Brand. 3D printers, but he's kind of branching out into his own sculpts and some stuff he's going to be selling. And this, I cannot wait to get this. He took original skateboard art and kind of does what David Horvath did and turned them into 3D prints. And they're going to be little desk pieces of mocks of original skateboards. And they come with truck. Here's the printing process on those. He's sanding them. He's prepping them for people. But they're going to come with trucks that you glue on and wheels. Oops, I went too far. Wheels. And then you can paint it any way you want or to paint it to match the original art.
He's casting clear too, huh?
Yeah, he's using clear and then priming. I love this. I love this so much. That one in the middle, that Rob Roscott board, was my very first skateboard I ever got. Oh, like real skateboard from Santa Cruz. And the other one is a Ray Barbie from Powell Peralta, which was another classic, iconic artwork from a skate deck. And there are if he keeps this line going, there are so many that he could do that I think would be awesome to see. So if there's any skaters out there like me, because we're starting, the boomers are starting to die off a bit. So more Gen X people.
Skate. The skateboards we had roller skate wheels.
They were Nash, had the big, I know. They're terrible. But if you're like me and you're a Gen X skater, this is right up your alley. All right. We have our Well Winter update. Scott, hit it.
So the latest from Well Winter, and he's doing all of these, is Rufus Rough Cut and Sawtooth in the number 10 Buzz Wagon. And I love this piece. Again, another Well Winter winner. I would have to venture to guess, though, looking at those wheels, you're probably going to have to take a little clear acrylic rod and put it under this to hold that whole piece up just a little bit, because I don't think those wheels are going to hold.
Yeah, I'd put something under there.
But otherwise, that thing is fantastic. And going to have to talk to Well, because how in the world do you get that axe handle in there? But maybe it will slide in there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it should. I hope.
Yeah, it looks like it. There's plenty of room.
If you go skinny end first.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
put the head on.
Okay,
But-
next.
Again, another winner.
The next up.
And did we mention this last time that I've tried for almost a year to get this kid a box sent to him?
No, we have not. We have not. The Tales of the
package frequent flyer model box. I have sent 3 times to him, and finally it got there, and he was so happy. Again, from the Wacky Racers cartoon, we have Sergeant Blast and Private Meekly from the Army Surplus Special. So what Wells doing is he's taking the drivers and then doing separate maquettes of them.
Cool.
And
I love their names.
Sergeant Blast and Private Meekly. Yeah. And these were the 2 that were in the tank, and it was it was good. So,
and then the sheriff. What's the sheriff from?
I was trying to look that up before we came on, and I'm not sure what the sheriff's from. So maybe one of our listeners can enlighten me. But it's a nice looking piece.
It is a nice looking piece. I have no idea. I've never seen that before.
I know at first I thought it was Quake from Quisp and Quake.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's it for news and reviews. I have a couple little things here I want to show real quick. The great people over at Stan Arts sent this in. And this is David Stan's paint job of Bruce the Shark. And I wanted to highlight this because holy cow. I'm going to go full screen on this one. What a, like, look how good this is, dude. Like, that's museum quality. That should be somewhere like at Universal, like in their display case. It is gorgeous. Just the detail, like the speckling on the front of the mouth itself.
The tear running from the eye, I thought was
like the water dripping out of there is just
fantastic.
Everything is just beautiful. And the weathering on the inside of it, like, oh my gosh. So I think if you're interested in this, I think they're slowing down production on this because it has eaten up all their time and they got other stuff they want to start making. So I would check out over at Stan Arts if you're interested in this, get in on it. But I think it's coming to a close so they can make room for new stuff coming. And man, this buildup is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work and great people. Some of the nicest people in the hobby. So please support them when you can. And then the next thing as more of a gallery teaser here, Kendall Conniff took some pictures that he had sent us a long time ago of buildups, and he had gotten some dry ice in the mail and used them as part of its photography for taking those for new pictures of them. So check them out. They'll be in the gallery, but that witch picture is so good.
Yeah, it is.
It is so good. It looks like it's so professional looking. And so it looks like it should be in a movie. It's just as such a great pick. So they'll be in the gallery at the end of the show. And please, actually the gallery of this episode, there is a ton of stuff. So it's a great gallery this time. So that's where we are. And we have our guest. Our guest is Marc Havican of Filmy's Girls. Scott, what do you want to say before we jump into it? Anything?
No, I've known Mark a long time now.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've met.
We might have got off to a little rocky start, but
you guys seem to get along fine tonight.
Nothing new for me now. No, Mark is always really good to me. Matter of fact, this year at Wonderfest, he called me over at one point. I was walking by his table, and he's apologizing to me because he saw me earlier, but he was talking to people, so he couldn't. I didn't say hi. I didn't want you to be mad at me, and I'm like, dude, I've been a vendor here. I know what it's like. You can't say hi to everybody who walks by. It's fine. But and Mark always brings me candy, so hopefully he's not trying to lure me into his van or anything.
Hey, sometimes fun things happen in the van.
What happens in the van stays in the van.
That's right, forever. But man, this was a great interview. We go pretty long here, and we'll see what I do in editing. We'll see what happens. But I think every moment of this is worth listening to. It's a great interview. And I think there's some really good business advice nuggets in there. So for those of you budding producers, it's a great watch. So thank you, Mark, for joining us and sharing your info and your expertise. So here we have Marc Havican of Filmy's Girls. All right, everybody, we are back with Marc Havican of Filmy's Girls. Mark, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Jason. Scott, thanks for inviting me to come on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
I think in our top 5 requested people to be on the show. So you're here. So those people that requested you, yay, we made a dream come true. So Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. And that's really kind of a scary thing. I'm sort of surprised, but thank you. That kind of made my day. Thank you.
We always got it. Someone's like, get Mark on. So we did. And I'm glad you accepted our stupid invitation to be here. Where are you from, Mark?
I was born in Newport, Rhode Island. And my family moved to Texas when I was like 6 weeks old. So I grew up here, and that's why I talk like a normal person instead of having a, thick Eastern accent.
Yeah, those Eastern accents, man, they're the worst, aren't they?
You don't pack the car?
Pack the car in the yard.
And you did not have to suffer living near Neil DeConte. So that's good.
I have a response to that.
Neil has the best Eastern accent of all the guys I know in the hobby. He's probably got the best one.
He does have a good one. But anyway, off topic already, and we're 2 seconds in. How old are you, sir? So we can kind of put you in the place. We always like to place people between Scott and I and see where you're at.
I'm older than both of you. I'm probably the oldest guy you've ever had on here, actually. I'll be 70 years old on the 21st of September.
You are not the oldest.
A week and a half.
Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. So yeah, you're up there with Scott, a little older than Scott, a little bit.
I mean, a little bit. I'm 61, you jerkweed.
So how did you get into the garage kit hobby? Like as a kid, where did you find it? Where did you come back into it? Is this something you've always done?
No, it's well, I didn't get into the garage kit hobby when I was a kid because that was back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. It was the early '60s. The British invasion had just happened. The Beatles appeared on Ed Sullivan in like 1964, and then they played Shea Stadium later that year. And that's relevant. I'm going to tell you about my first model kit. So I came in when I grew up. We played outside from dusk and dawn until dusk, right? Your mama would call you in for supper and you'd come in at dark. We were barefoot. We wore cutoff shorts, no shirts, crew cuts, and we were brown as biscuits, And so mama would call me in and I came inside one evening and I saw my dad sitting at a folding card table, with newspaper spread out. And he was building a monogram Duesenberg. And he painted it red and everything. And this is my first exposure to models. So this was like 1964. And I was 10 years old. And, Daddy, what are you doing? And he told me. And I sat there and I watched him for, an hour or so. Well, shortly thereafter, we went to a place called Hillcroft Pharmacy. Back in those days, pharmacies had everything. And when we were at Hillcroft Pharmacy, in kind of the fun section, they had beetle wigs, right? They were these raggedy ass things, and $1.98. They were in a little cellophane bag. But adjacent to that were the Universal Monster kits, the Aurora kits. And so first I wanted the beetle wig, and I said, nah, I like this over here, Daddy, because he was building a model and it was interesting. So I asked him if he'd buy it for me. And my dad was not that way. He said, no, you have an allowance. You get 25 cents every 2 weeks when you get paid, and you can save your money and buy it. Well, at those times, the Aurora kits were 98 cents, right? And so it took me 2 months to save the money to get an Aurora Monster kit. And then I didn't have any money for glue or paints, but fortunately my dad was kind enough to let me use his. So I took it home, like everybody, glue bomb, and I brush painted it, and it just looked terrible. It was really horrible. And that's kind of how I got introduced to the hobby.
Which one was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was the guillotine.
Okay.
And here's another thing. Today, I don't think a parent would let their kid have a guillotine model kit, remember? Because that thing would work, right?
Yeah, it worked.
Trip it,
yep.
And it would have a piece of kite string on it. And actually, I'll send you send you a picture of me holding that kit back in those days.
Yeah, I'll put it in right here. Cool. No, after your first kit, did you just keep buying stuff, or was it like just that one and done?
Well, I built the monsters for, about a year. I think I was able to save up and get 3 of them. I got a Frankenstein. I love that one. And then I did a mummy kit and a Wolfman. So I got 4 of them. And then as I got to be, 12 years old, 13, I'm in junior high school, and I got into building model cars. There was a magazine called Car Model, and then there was Model Car Science. And so back in those days, AMT would make these 3-in-1 kits, right? So you could buy a kit and build it all different ways. You could build it as a hot rod or a race car or a street rod. And actually that informed what I did with Aurora. That's another story. The very first Aurora we did, I tried to make it like a customizing kit. And it was a callback to those days. And I did that for a little while. And then about 13, I discovered girls and real cars. And like a lot of guys, I just got away from it for a while.
Yeah.
And then when my son Austin was a young guy, he, the kids those days were Nintendo and playing consoles and that stuff. And I wanted to do something that didn't have a console or a screen. So I took him to Toys R Us, and we found some model kits. And he got a Ford Taurus. It was terrible, and he took it home and did the same exact thing. The same exact thing. He brush painted it and glue bombed it and fingerprints all over, but he was hooked. And so I was building with him, and I went to a hobby shop up in Houston, and they had a magazine rack with Scale Auto Enthusiast and Model Cars magazine. And I started reading those, and I found the aftermarket. So I built model cars for a while. I wrote for a couple magazines. And then I was going to IPMS shows, and I kept seeing the figures, right? And I saw some anime figures, and I saw, the military things and stuff like that. So I decided I was going to try to branch off into figures. I didn't think I'd be any good at it, but I found those, and through that is how I found the garage kit hobby, through the clubhouse. And then I ended up going to Wonderfest, I think, 16 years ago was my first show, 15 or 16 years ago.
What kit did you bring that first year? Did you bring anything?
It was, I have it here. It's in the other room. I did a Vampirella.
I was going to say, was it your Vampirella? That's what I remember.
And then there was another one too. I want to go for it. It was an anime kit that I just want to go for.
Yeah.
And then, I built for a little while and entered contests. And then one Wonderfest, I ran into Dan Jurgensen and his wife, and they tried to get me to come write for Kit Builders. And I talked to Mike Allen about it. He says, let me introduce you to David Fisher. And he did, and I went with Amazing instead of Kit Builders.
That was during the magazine war times when people were trying to grab painters left and right yes, because I was right around that same time too. Man.
Well, one of the things that was really interesting for me, I got lucky. I found within this area right here, we had the Houston Figure Modelers Club. And get this, you had Mike Petrozak, Mike Allen, Gabe Marquez, Rick Cantu, and I joined up, and it's like, it was like the big guys on the East Coast, but it was sort of a Southern flavor of it.
Man, that's cool.
And those guys have a lot, man.
Yeah.
A lot.
That is so cool to have those guys around to learn from. Oh my gosh. Wow. So when did you get the idea that I want to start producing kids?
Well, I didn't really have that. As a kid growing up here, and I'm in the Houston area. NASA Johnson Space Center is right across the lake. And my film production company, that's what we service. We do a lot of space films. And I grew up around a lot of the original Apollo and Mercury astronauts. Well, it's kind of a space guy. I have a thing for 3 fin rocket ships, because I'd watch all the science fiction movies. And the movies I saw as a kid is a whole different story. But that's where futuristic retro came from. Because for my film company, I had 3D rockets. I've got some up there, and 3 fin rocket ships everywhere. And so the style that we had was I took that retro feel and took it into the future. And we created Futuristic Retro. That's the corporation, that's the umbrella for Filmy's Girls and all that we can talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was really into that sort of that retro space stuff. And I wanted a retro space girl. And I couldn't find one anywhere. I looked around and I couldn't locate one. So I was talking to Mike Petrozak at a Houston figure modelers meeting. And I asked him, because he was sculpting, and I asked him, would he help me do a space girl just so that I'd have something to build? And that's what it was. And so we started putting it together. I said I wanted, a jetpack, and I wanted the kind of a hood, and I wanted to tell a story, right? I didn't want just a static superhero pose and, a round base and all that kind of stuff. So I said, well, what if she's like, she's a member of 3 girls in a spaceship. So it was Daphne, Stella, and Allura. And they would be traveling to a distant planet, and Daphne was the first one down. And as she took her gun out, and as she was walking around on the surface, she stepped on a critter. And we called the critter Orb because he's this big old eyeball. And so Petrozak sculpted this thing up, and it was a beautiful piece. So Mike Allen molded and cast it for me. And now I got my Space Girl, right? So I built the kit and I posted it on the Clubhouse. And it started to get responses. Hey, do you have any more of those? And I talked to Mike, and he casted a few, and then other people were buying them. And so I made my money back. And I said, well, this is kind of fun. Maybe I'll try to do another one. And that's kind of how we got going. That was 2009.
Yeah. Okay. I bought one, and I just recently sold it, and I wish I didn't. Every time I buy something and then I sell it, I'm like, no, I shouldn't have sold it. But it was a great kit when I had it. I love it. It's still great now. How many do you have left of your own? Do you have like a little stash somewhere of that first kit?
I have a couple of every kit that I've produced. Yeah.
Just in case.
All the kits and the busts.
As like the giant seed vault. If there's ever a world catastrophe, you could rebuild your stock. That's awesome.
His empire. He could rebuild his empire.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
All right. So your second kit, how did you go from, okay, we did this one, I'm going to keep doing it?
So I made enough money on that to, I had a little bit of money, and so I could afford to do another one. So I had seen some artwork by a British artist named Ali Fell, Alyfell, and he did a beautiful illustration of sort of a bride, Elsa Lanchester, Bride of Frankenstein, and she was sitting at a table and getting ready to go out on a date with her beau Frankie, and she had, because she had electrodes and everything, she stuck her finger in a light socket, and so she had this blue aura glow around her hair, and I thought, well, that's really nice. So I contacted Ali. Because I own a film production company, I'm really sensitive about copyright and intellectual property and that kind of stuff. I wasn't going to rip anybody off. So I reached out to Ali and asked him, could I license the kit from him or license that image? And he said, yes. So we agreed upon a price, and I sent him some money, and he let me use his illustration for a kit. And so at that point, I'd heard about a sculptor in North Carolina named Troy Naeyaert. And so I reached out to Troy, and I hired him. I gave him a deposit, and he started sculpting charge. And that was the second kit we did charge. Now, that was just a kit of her at a table. And I really loved the way Ali did the walls, and the lights and everything, but it was too expensive to produce. Couple of big chunks of resin. So I sculpted that out of balsa foam, and then I textured it. I was trying all the different modeling techniques. And then I cut the plastic bulbs off the mirror, drilled it out, and I used LED bulbs and cast some lenses and that type of stuff and lit it up. And that one took me 2 years to do because I got kind of ambitious with it. Again, I want to tell a story.
that.
But we
talk us
got
through,
it out and
sorry, go ahead.
released that in 2011.
2011. Walk us through that phone call, because I think that's something that a lot of people are just afraid to do, is to call and ask about a license. So when you call somebody to make that, hey, like what's that pitch like? Like, how do you usually tackle that?
Well, and I don't do that anymore because, and I'll tell the story about this in a minute. Well, actually, it came about because of charge. I'll tell you right now. So you remember about that time, 2011-ish, 2012, Universal was issuing a bunch of C&Ds, right? There was a lot of guys that were receiving cease and desist because they were creating Universal monsters and things like that. And I don't want to go into the politics, but I'd heard somebody had turned in a bunch of producers, and I was threatened. Guy said if I didn't quit selling charge kits, he was going to turn me into Universal, and I'd get C&D and sued and everything else. Well, it was fair use, right. It wasn't pride exactly, but so I decided, it kind of scared me a little bit. Well, first of all, it pissed me off because, I thought the hobby was better than that, right? But this particular guy, you guys,
no,
you know the guy, and he was kind of a jerk. But anyway, to answer your question, what I did was I reached out to Allie. I said, "Look, I'm a model builder in the States. I write for a couple of magazines, and I really love this artwork. What we do is in this garage kit hobby, it's called garage kits because people will have a sculpt made or they'll sculpt it themselves, and they'll use polyurethane. They use mold making materials, and then use resin to pour these kits. And we might sell 30 of them, or 50 or something like that. So it's not really a whole lot, but I really respect, because I'm a creative myself, I really respect your use and your rights of intellectual property, and I don't just want to do it. So I'd like to ask you, may I use your drawing, and I'd be happy to pay you for it if you'll sign and give me a license to reproduce this kit right here. And if you say no, I'm not going to do it. And usually if you're just polite and respectful to people, they'll work something out with you.
Yeah, that's it. That's great advice. It's really good advice. Your next kit, Pebbles. How'd that come to be?
So I'd worked with Troy once before, and I went to New Jersey. Scott, which show was it? It wasn't Jersey Fest. It was the other one. There's like two of them up there.
Resintopia.
Yeah. So that was the first one on the calendar, I think. And so I went to Resintopia just as a guy, to check it out. And I wanted to see everybody up there because I'd seen them at Wonderfest, and I wanted to see kind of what the East Coast guys were doing in terms of a show. And I ran into Rainer Engel, who'd I'd seen at Wonderfest and got to know. And he said he really liked the kits that I'd done, and that I had a real pinup style, right? So just real quick, a Filmy's Girls kit there's three tenets. It's sexy without being vulgar. There's no fan service. There's no exposed breasts. There's no spread legs. There's no sexual overtones, none of that. So sexy without being vulgar. Every kit tells a story, because I think that instead of just seeing Wonder Woman with her hands on her hips, or the traditional thing like that, I'm really into kits that tell a story. Yeah. So I wanted all of the kits to have. Pebbles obviously has one, and Charge and Stella and the rest. And then the final thing was I wanted to have a touch of humor in the kits, right? I wanted people to be able to smile when they see them and display them at their house so that their grandmas or their wives or kids aren't offended. So I Rainer turned me on to a German pinup artist named Simon Eckert. And I reached out to Simon and talked to him, and we hit it off really well. He's a German guy, like I say, and we hit it off. So we started bouncing around ideas, and I said, well, I was a real fan of the Flintstones when I was a kid, and I wonder what Pebbles would look like when she was all grown up. So we started throwing ideas back and forth, and came up with this thing. One of the things we wanted to do was have the sort of call back to the Coppertone ads, right? Again, I'm showing my age, but that was part of the deal.
Yeah.
And so we had, he suggested 2 dinosaurs, right? So she'd be holding out a leg, a meat leg for Dina to eat. And then Dino was the one that was kind of plucking at her fur bikini from behind, kind of like the Coppertone ad. And so we had Troy sculpt that one. So now I'm starting to build a team. See,
Yeah.
I've got Rainer's giving me advice and counsel and guidance. And then I've got Simon now, and I've got Troy McDevitt and Mike Petrazak. Sort of, we're working together to create these kits. And Troy did a beautiful job sculpting that piece. It's magnificent. And then, I had this wild idea. I said, it'll never happen, but I'm going to ask him. And so I asked David if he would paint it, David Fisher. And he said yes. He was a little more expensive than the other painters that we've worked with. But in fact, I'd done all the other kits myself up to this point. But he said yes and painted it. And it was a big hit. I mean, we still get calls about Pebbles today.
Yeah, the dinosaur paint jobs alone are just fantastic. That's such a nice smooth blend between that blue and the yellow undercarriage. And even her tan line in this picture is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is really cool. All right, Stella, I have some in-progress sculpture pictures here that we can go through too that you sent for Stella.
Yeah. So Stella was another space girl. And again, sexy without being vulgar. Some of the feedback we got was a lot of folks, they're intimidated by painting girl kits because there's a lot of skin, right? So again, this is kind of a callback to like Daphne, where she's in a spacesuit.
Yeah.
And so Simon and I are throwing ideas back and forth, and Simon actually came up with this idea. Said, well, what if she crashed her ship on a planet and she needed a ride, so she was looking for some handsome space jockey to come by and pick her up. So he's got a portion of the spacecraft that's crashed, and it's knocked over a pole that says Sirius this way and Alpha Centauri the other, and she's got her thumb out with a real cute smile. And so we went with that, and again, we had Troy sculpt that one. I tend to be real loyal with the folks that I work with. It's if I find somebody I really like, I stick with them for a long period of time, and that's the way it goes. And so we did Stella, and then I painted that one, blue and silver. David he's a busy guy, and I wasn't going to take advantage of my friendship with him and ask him to paint all my kids. But so I went back and I painted that one myself. And I think there's some illustrations.
Yes.
There's a couple of shots of how Troy put that together. There's a wireframe, and then sort of some foil, and he started laying the clay and everything on top of that. So there's some interesting illustrations of.
It's great to see the armatry he starts with and how he does it. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. And when we did Freya, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, I wanted to produce a little Filmy's Girls film, right? Sort of a little documentary type thing. And so around the time that we were doing Freya, my son Austin, who was my director of photography at the time, we traveled around, and we went to North Carolina to Troy's studio and shot him actually working on Freya. He was about 75% done. So we have a lot of video and imagery of him actually sculpting on this, and we did some interviews. And there's a picture of him sitting there working with Freya, and that one was really successful as well. Simon, his interpretation of Freya was so cool. The idea was we wanted to do sort of a Middle Ages woman. And Simon came up with this concept of having these little gnome guys, and they're helping her get dressed, right? So they're standing on top of each other, and she's got different helmets to try on, and there's a mirror. And so we put that kit together, and that was another really, really fun piece. And that was the first piece that Jim Capone painted for me.
Oh,
was Freya. And so now I'm starting to sort of stretch a little bit. We wanted to start including things that you wouldn't ordinarily see in a model kit. So as Troy was sculpting the mirror frame, I found some oval mirrors, right? Some glass, and we sculpted the frame to fit that glass because we wanted to start creating multimedia stuff.
Cool.
You know, one of the things about creating a successful company is you sort of, you carve out a niche and you find your voice, and you try to determine, like, what's your purple cow, right? What sets you apart from everybody else? And that's when we really started to build the Filmy Squirrels brand, was when we started adding these other little touches and extra pieces and parts and things like that. So Freya was another thing we did was we reached out to our customer base, right?
I was just going to ask that because I remember that you reached out for a naming it contest. Yep.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So what we did was we ran a little contest. Okay, we're going to have a contest, and I think we did. I can't remember if it was Facebook or the Clubhouse. I've slept since then. So we reached out to our customers, and we got our customers and fan base involved, and then they started telling people, and then sharing the posts, and we started building this following for Filmy Squirrels. And the contest was, come up with a name, help us name this kit, right? And then you'll get a free copy of the kit. We'll present it to you at Wonderfest. And so we had a lot of really good names. In fact, we had two that we combined into one. So somebody suggested Freya, and the other person suggested Horns of a Dilemma, because she couldn't decide which of the headpieces she was going to wear for her date with her Viking man. And so we just combined them together and put a colon in between them. And we gave away 2 kits at Wonderfest.
Oh, that's cool.
And we had a big crowd around the booth that year. And so that sort of exposed us to that type of deal.
So up to date, when this debuted, and understand, I don't generally do female kits. I like pinup art. Don't get me wrong. I like pinup art, and I agree with everything you say about your kits. They're not obscene. They're not. They're done classy. They're not vulgar. All that. When I saw this kit, it's close to getting one. I'll tell you what, not for the figure. I love those guys so much.
Yeah, the little gnomes.
Those little gnomes. I thought those guys were so cool. I'm like, those guys just crack me up. I mean, it's like, yeah, I love those guys. Those are awesome. So that was like your first kit that would have taken me out of my normal genre of stuff, where I almost said, man, I need to get that. I mean, that was this close.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those kind words.
This close. And not that I'm putting down anything you do. It's just not the genre of stuff.
No, I don't.
I do.
No. So remember that I said that it helps to find a niche,
mm-hmm.
and to be unique, right? And so we found that. I mean, I found where, first of all, I love the stuff that we do. I get great joy from coming up with these ideas and concepts. We have an incredible team that works with us. I mean, it's built up now. So we've got painters. We've got, I lean heavily on Matt Mrozik and Randy Van Dyke. I hit Joe Nesberger for some input. I talked to Dave Fisher, and what do you think about this? You know, there's a whole team kind of behind it. And then we've added Anya Shetanina, who's become one of our go-to painters. She's such a talented woman. And her interpretations of a lot of the pieces are really beautiful. So I bounce ideas off of her, and most specifically, we'll get around to this, I guess, is like with Gabriella and Aurora 2.0. We had like a group chat going on, and everybody's kicking in feedback, and it's just such a fun thing to do when you've got that many people and that much creative energy going into it. It's really cool.
Absolutely. I want to go back to Stella for 1 second.
I'm still stuck that he got Anya's last name right on the first try. Okay.
I just want to a technical question on silver paint. Recommend any good silver paints? What, like, that you remember? So it's been a while.
So I mentioned earlier that I'd painted model cars for most of my life, except for the period I got away from it. And then when I started painting and writing for Scale Auto Enthusiast, I discovered airbrushes, and there's a company called House of Color Paint that does metallic paints for automobiles and cars. And so what I did was I bought, and I used Depthane 2-part clear coat urethane for gloss for these lacquer paints. And so I was familiar with and very comfortable shooting lacquer paints. So the silver that I used on her was a House of Color automotive paint that I thinned down really well. Another good silver paint, I'll tell you, is Tamiya's paint. They have some great silver paints. And then what I do is I get a film can. You remember film, like for cameras, and I cut a little hole in the top of the film can and run a straw down in it. That's those flexible straws you used to have when you were a kid and you drink when you're sick, little flexible neck. And then I set that in my paint booth with a glove on my hand, and I put the Tamiya can, shake it up, and I put the straw fits around that nozzle, and I just spray it into the can and decant it. And you can do that, and that's thin enough you can run through an airbrush, and it's a beautiful metallic paint that you can spray through your airbrush. I would use an automotive etching primer, or even the Tamiya white primer would work okay with that.
Cool. Thanks for answering. I love hearing that kind of stuff too.
Sure, I'm happy to tell you anything you want to know.
Pearl. Do you want to do Pearl next?
Sure.
Okay, let's do Pearl.
So by now, Simon and I are starting to find our stride. And he did this incredible piece of art. All credit to Simon Eckert for this. What I told him was I wanted to do sort of a 1960s era sea hunt figure. I wanted the girl to have her hair back in a ponytail. I wanted to have the bathing suit that was very modest, right? Instead of like where her legs are. Yeah. I didn't want a high cut on it. I want it sort of flat, like the girls used to wear back then. I just wanted a real 60s sea hunt vibe to it. And so we found a single, we just Googled pictures of the type of things that the scuba crowd would use during those times. And so I sent Simon those pictures, and he came back with this incredible illustration that has such flow to it. I mean, if you look at that, yes. If you look at the kit on the table, I think you've seen it, Jason, it's got a lot of movement to it. I mean,
I was just going to say my favorite part of the kit are the flippers, and the way that the flippers bend like they're moving in the water, and just right. And so, it's such a nice, elegant piece. Like, it's just beautiful.
So as a filmmaker, I'm very cognizant of motion. And what we do in this business is we lead the viewer's eye at a certain part of the frame that we want them to look at, right? And so when we compose a shot, like brighter colors will attract your eye and movement will attract your eye and so forth. And so Simon and I were simpatico, man, like this. We were just on the same page. And I didn't say anything about flow or motion or anything else. He just knew what I liked. And he sent me that picture back, and I was just gobsmacked at how beautiful it was. And so I'd seen Roberto von Behr's sculpt, and I wanted to try something new. And again, let me back up just real quick. So the story that we had for Pearl was, she was a scuba diver, and she's going down to, she's going to get a pearl. And then all of the critters in the ocean go, no, wait a second, you're invading our turf. You can't have that. And so she's on top of the shell, and the gar is looking at her kind of, and the octopus is reaching out to get her, and there's little clams around. And, by now we're putting critters in all of the pieces as well, some sort of little deal. And so it just continued sort of the storytelling aspect. And then Roberto just, Pearl's one of the most successful pieces we've ever done. And then after we had all this beautiful sculpt and paintings and everything, Gordon Oberman agreed to paint that kit for me.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I think it's one of the most beautiful things that Gordon's ever done.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Well, that and the Agent Venus that I sold and did all the prep work on.
I have a question.
Sure.
And I find this to be happening in the 3D world a lot. When you get some of these illustrations and stuff, you have to modify them sometimes, knowing what you're dealing with a resin kit. And like, yeah, we can't put all the weight on this piece or it'll sag over time, so does that go into it, or have you just been lucky so far that everything is just kind of worked out?
Well, we try to design things that are visually appealing. Judy is a good example of support. In order to support her and make her look like she was like that hover scooter was actually hovering, I used an acrylic rod that I cut and I polished both ends of it and make it really nice. And then also when I'm working with a professional sculptor like Roberto. So Roberto is he works in the dental industry, but he's a student of anatomy, of human anatomy. And sometimes you're right, Scott. I'll send him an illustration, and he goes, "Her legs wouldn't be like this. The muscles aren't right. They'd be doing this and this." And so, because we have Roberto doing that work, and he has such a foundation in human anatomy, he was really good about correcting it and saying, at least from a human form perspective. And then because he does, dental work and bridges and stuff, he's just kind of got this engineering technical mind with an artistic bent. And he's the one that he does make minor tweaks and changes, but it's all because of the sculptor. I didn't tell him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I did talk about Judy, but I said what I wanted to do, but that's all Roberto, man.
Have you had any issues with the kit sagging over time?
Pearl?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
She's got the stud that holds her into, I don't have one in here. The stud that holds her into the clam is 3/8 of an inch in diameter.
Cool.
It's nearly a half. It's a big old stud, and it's her torso that holds it up. It's the torso. It doesn't have legs or arms or the head to it. And so, for model builders, and I'm under no illusions. I talk to folks sometimes. They want to get one of our kits. Oh, I've never built a kit before, and I suggest, perhaps it would be better if you started with something else, because our kits are pretty technical. There's a lot of parts. Matt Mrozik's building a Pearl right now. He was down here Saturday. We went down to get some seafood, and he says, Pearl is a challenging kit to build because of all, like the hose that comes around is a 2-part. He said, in order to get everything, I've got to put it all together and mask it. So his approach is a little bit different. So they're technical kits. They can be difficult and challenging. Some of them are easy, like Daphne and Stella and so forth. Yeah. But because of so what I'm saying here is an experienced model builder will know about how to pin a kit so that the legs don't sag and the arms don't sag and that type of thing. But it's in terms of balance and flopping around on that base, that's not a challenge.
Nefertiti.
So by now, we're getting a lot of email, and people are saying, "Oh, we love Charge. When are you going to do another Monster Girl?" And so, Vampirella's been done to death.
Yes.
I didn't want to do another Vampire Girl. I was trying to figure a way to do like a Wolf Girl, but I just couldn't get my mind around the right way to do it. I may still at one point figure out a way to get around that, because I'd really like to see it. That was my second Aurora kit. Was a Wolfman. And so I thought, well, what if we had an beautiful Egyptian woman, and she's been in a sarcophagus for thousands and thousands of years. And so somebody opens the sarcophagus, and she comes out because she's been in Egypt. Her skin's real dry. So she has this table full of emollients and creams, and the first thing she does is reach for this little table. And so this gave us an opportunity to create canopic jars with little beak heads on them.
Yeah.
Again, this was Roberto at its finest, because Simon's illustration, there's bandages draping, and that's probably the most challenging kit we've ever produced. I've never seen another one painted.
I want to tell the listeners too. None of that's 3D rendered. None of that's 3D rendered. That's all clay or
It's
whatever
all,
Roberto
it's all,
does.
well, now,
That's
again,
before 3D rendering came in.
So I'll tell you how Roberto did those bandages was he took gauze, because it's textured, dude. So he took some strips of gauze and he soaked them in white glue, like Elmer's glue, and then he shaped them, and then let them dry, and then that's what we did. And Joel Nelson cast that piece for me. By now, I've found Joel, who I think is just an extraordinary caster. I mean, again, this all goes to the people that work with us to do this. I come up with the ideas, I run the business, I do the marketing, all that kind of stuff. But the people who work on these kits are the talented geniuses that make Filmy's Girls successful. The sculptors and the artists and the casters and the painters and everything else. That's not me. You know, I'm just the guy. I'm just Filmy.
Who painted
Now this was Capone, right?
Yeah.
Capone painted this, if I remember right.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And
I love how you can
we brought it out.
Sorry.
We put it on the tables this year because I found a couple of copies. And so we had it at our booth at Wonderfest. And it's just, the crowd around that piece was just incredible. You know, you can just imagine the combination, right? You got Simon Eckert doing the original painting. You got Roberto Von Bear sculpting it. You got Joel Nelson casting it, molding and casting it with no seams. I mean, they're pristine, you know, and then Jim Capone painting it. It's a team sport. It really is. And,
I love the
if you
cat
surround
Capone
yourself
That
with people.
Freaking Capone guy, I hate him. we had on one day. Oh no, I was Jesse sent me.
You have Capone on here?
Yeah, we had Capone on here one episode.
Oh man, I gotta go find that.
And
he's coming back. We're gonna have him
coming
on
back.
again.
So I always said
Jim.
hi to Jim, but I never really got to know Jim in a little bit until we did the show. And Jesse posted a picture of something. He sent me a sneak peek of something. And Capone had painted it. Oh, the Tin Man. And it was beautiful.
That's
Jesse's Tin Man.
That paint job, incredible.
And so I just said to Jesse, I go, fuck Jim Capone. I said, okay, right? So fast forward now to 3 weeks later, we're at Wonderfest, right? And, Capone is the most just really nice, gentlemanly
He's a
guy,
sweet
right?
guy, man.
And he walks up to our table and he goes, fuck Jim Capone, huh? And I start laughing. And he understood the joke completely, which is like, screw this guy can paint this good, And so the rest of the week, every time I walked by him, that Capone guy, just screw him. And then Anya too, when she would come up to the table or something, I'd say, I know you. You're that hack painter that paints for Jesse and stuff like that. And they were just all so good-natured about it because I obviously don't mean any of it. They're both very talented people. And, they were just a good time. But so fuck Jim Capone.
Well, let's move on to Laguna.
Cool.
Sorry.
Laguna.
Okay.
Let's move on to Laguna.
So Laguna was, after the success of Charge and Nefertiti, I'm like, I'd like to do this. And so Simon and I are talking, and I said, well, instead of making her like she's an actual creature, what if the actor who portrayed the creature, we know it's a guy, but what if the actor that portrayed this creature was a beautiful woman? And, since the creature's kind of greenish, in my interpretation at least, I know the movie was black and white, but if the creature's green, wouldn't it be cool if she had red hair? We hadn't done redhead before, because that contrast would be really cool. And then, so we wanted it to feel like she was on the set. So we came up with a director's chair, right? With the mask hanging on the side of the director's chair. And then I put her in the Okefenokee swamp, since we're real close to Louisiana down. And one of the things I do is I create these backstories so that if somebody asks me about it, I can tell them the backstory. So she was working in the Atchafalaya Basin and the Okefenokee Swamp, and they're shooting a movie. And she's, been on the set all day, so she's kind of unzipping the thing to cool off a little bit. And there's a gator down there with his mouth open watching her do this. And I would say that next to Pearl, Laguna's just been a dynamic hit. We ran through either 3 or 4 runs of Pearl, and things kind of started tapering off. And now it's picked back up again in terms of Pearl. Yeah, when Matt Morozic does his, you need to get Matt on here too. When he does his YouTube broadcast, and there's like hundreds of people, and I told him, dude, I can't watch this shit. I got work to do, because he'll paint for 3 hours. But whenever he does one of our kits, whether it's Judy or now he's doing Pearl, the boards light up and people are banging, hey, you got an STL? And that gets into a whole nother topic that we can talk about.
Yeah, we'll get back to
we're
that.
On this kit.
Well, do you want to come back to it, or do you want to do it now on this kit?
No, I don't. I'll just do a quick run through the rest of the kits if you want, and we can talk
let's
about
do that. Yeah.
Did Capone paint this one too? Capone paint this one too?
No, that's Jeff Camp.
That's Camp painted this one. Okay.
Yeah, Jeff painted Laguna.
And again, I know the figure is the focus point of any kit. Okay. But again, when I saw the paint up of this, I was so impressed with the alligator, the paint on the alligator. I was like, wow, that's just,
It is. And again, that goes to assembling the best talent that you can afford and put around. Advice and input and creative stuff is relatively free, but engaging with people who you respect and who respect you, it really works out well. And I've been blessed that that's worked out for us. I'm a fan of Jeff's painting, and he's hard to get. It's really difficult to work with guys. And I think he did a beautiful piece. But here's what I want to say: thank you for pointing this out. The things like the gator, right, and the little guys in Freya, because those are details in the kit that we work really hard on, from Simon's painting to Roberto's sculpt and then Jeff's interpretation. It's not just the paint. It's all of those factors combined that really turn out really well. And that's one of the things that makes our kits unique, in that we have all that detail, and we hadn't even got into the swag and the extras and the goodies and the multimedia and all that.
No, and as we move on to the next one, the Belladonna Treasure Island, as you're saying that, what am I looking at on that kit, Mark? I'm looking at those 2 macaws on her shoulder going, wow, this is awesome.
We call those our critters. So
yeah, and again, I'm looking at those going, that's really cool. I really like those.
So what happened with Belladonna is this was right around COVID, and there was a couple of years where I didn't have much to put on the tables, right? So we did a series of busts. I have a guy named Bill Hughes, who I had him create. I think we had 8 kits at the time, and he's a comic book artist. And so I had him do comic book illustrations of all our girls, and then we created a big old banner that we put up at Wonderfest that year. The first year that we put up the big background and everything. And so we decided to do a series of busts based on those comic book illustrations, and they were very popular and did really well. So I didn't have anything prepared. Sometimes life gets in the way, even when you're running companies. And we were coming out of COVID. It was kind of a challenge. And so, again, I had another artist in the UK that I really admire. And I reached out to him and to see if he had a pirate girl that he'd done. And we'd already started working on Gabriella. That was my first foray into digital sculpting. And it was quite challenging. Danielle Angelosi did that sculpt, and it's magnificent. But at that time, Danielle hadn't gotten into engineering and cutting up kits and things like that. So that's a whole nother thing, getting the kit engineered. And it took me 3.5 years to get Gabriella to market. So I I reached out to Matt Dixon, another friend of mine in the UK, another brilliant artist, and he did that artwork, and I licensed it from him. So again, I reached out, I talked to him, I paid him a licensing fee, I got it in writing and everything. We had an agreement, and so I licensed that art with him and did it. And again, Roberto sculpted it, and Gordon painted that kit.
See, and I always look at that stuff too, because having done my share of casting in the past, I look at that flag and I go, "Wow, is that a cast resin?"
Yeah, it's really,
and it's
yeah.
like, wow.
It's Joel Nelson, man. He's a superb mold maker. He really is.
Question I have real quick is, when people see some of this, because we're going through your back catalog, is everything available? Do you retire kits, or do you do a limited run of kits and then they're done, or do you do a as is, like you can order them as they want?
Okay, so one of the things I do is, since I've started 3 businesses. I got a film production company, I have a real estate company, and then I started Futuristic Retro to be the umbrella company for Filmy's Girls. And so I run Filmy's Girls and Futuristic Retro like a business. And I could tell you about that at some point if you're interested in it. But so one of the things I do is financials are really important, right? I went and got an EMBA. And so I think to run a business, you have to be able to understand finances, and you have to track your costs. You can't just out of pocket and not track it. And then, so you track your costs, you track what you're going to sell it for, a reasonable profit margin. And costs are, you've had Jesse on here, he's talked about it at length. So I don't need to rehash that, but
at length.
Yeah. And so, but I love Jesse, I like him a lot. I really do. We have a good relationship. We didn't at first, but we have a good relationship now. And so what I do is I track the sales, right? So I know the number of sales, and I can track them by month. I can tell you what I did at Wonderfest. I can tell you what I did post Wonderfest, and I can tell how long they run. And so kits like Pearl and Laguna and Aurora, the ones that really hit and sell a lot, then what we'll do is we'll take the sculpt, what we can of it, and remold from the sculpt. And if there are parts that are very delicate, like the air hoses for Pearl, those types of things, then what we'll do is we'll work off of one of the early pulls. Joel will hold back the early pulls, like one of the first 1 or 2 out of the molds, so that we can use those to remold certain parts for the kits. So no, one of the things about our kits is they sell out. I mean, we've been really lucky. If I do find onesies or twosies, I take them to the show, and people will line up to be the first in line to get one of those. And so we do well. Like right now, Joel's been ill. He's had some health challenges, but I've just recently gotten like a dozen Gabriellas and some Auroras, and I've got onesies and twosies around sometimes. But if there's enough demand, I don't take deposits. I don't make you put your name on a list. I just talk to the customers, and I gauge by sales and dialogue whether I think a kit will sell. And if I don't, I won't redo it. But if it will sell, because there's no sense in investing, even after you get the molds done and everything else, investing. Well, I've already depreciated my artwork and the sculpt and all that, so that comes off the top. So a kit usually runs, just so you'll know, one of our kits usually cost to me is anywhere between $12,000 and $15,000. And like for this past year, I was carrying Gabriella and Aurora since last year, so I had $30,000 invested in these 2 kits.
Repeat that again. Repeat that again, so people hear. For one kit, it's costing you
$12,000 to $15,000.
Okay, I want people to
and
just put that in their brain.
Like for example, if you're going to hire a talented artist to do this work, right now he's hooked up with Mattel Toys. He's really hit the big time. So Simon is now a very in demand artist, and so I compensate him fairly for his time. I hire an extraordinary sculptor sculptors to do the work, and I pay well. I pay artists, people to paint them, and then you've got to mold and cast. And as you know, with the cost of petroleum up, the cost of resin is high, and inflation is not just hitting in the grocery store. And so to buy the stuff to create these things is expensive. And then what people don't often take into account, like the boxes that we put them in, right? So I use these beautiful white Uline mailers that cost me $2.45 or $3 a piece, depending upon the size.
They are nice
So
boxes.
50 of those. So there's that. And then you got to pay for the cost of labels, and then the ink to print the labels, and then the peanuts to pack them in the bubble wrap, and then the print the pictures. And then if you know me, like when we come to a show, I'll do like laminated backstage passes. Okay, well, those backstage passes, I might spend $600 or $700 on those for the booth, and I give them away to people that buy the kits. And we do stickers and multimedia and so forth. So it's not inexpensive to do these. And then I stock them because I'm saving it for Wonderfest, right? That's where we kick off and premiere our kits. So you can be sitting on a substantial amount of money, and it's my opinion that you should never, ever, ever ask for a deposit or ask a customer for money. If you can't float the note in order to produce a kit, then you shouldn't be doing it, I don't think. Because that's how a lot of people get in trouble.
Yes.
They do. Yep. Isn't that right, Scott?
That's 100% correct. I learned the lesson one time. I had an after Wonderfest sale because I had some stuff left over, and all of a sudden, wham, I got nailed. And then I ended up having to contact people and say, look, now I'm so far behind, I'll either give you a refund or, and so after that, nope, I don't take any money until I got something ready to go in a box and send to you. And
it's great
I tell
advice.
anyone like right now that I'm printing for, don't take money till I tell you that thing is done and ready to go out.
Yep.
Now,
right.
People don't always listen to me. That ain't my fault. Okay. It's like, don't take money until it's ready to go out the door. And I even have a few customers I print for that are so good, I'll send their kits so that I have the exact postage. And then I'll say, okay, you owe me for this and this. And they PayPal me right away. But I got to really trust somebody to do that. I only have a few guys I do that with, but I do it with a few guys. So,
well, there are people in this hobby that have gotten into deep yogurt.
Oh, yeah.
Right. By overpromising and underdelivering. Another thing that's really a challenge is advice I give people that, well, tell me how do you start kits, a company like this? Well, you got to do it as a company. You have to not commingle your funds. Start with a DBA so that you can get a checking account. I think people should incorporate at least an LLC at a minimum and keep the funds separate, right? Because what will happen is sometimes people will take money and then their air conditioner goes out, or they need a battery for the car, or something like that, and they spend that money. And then when it comes time to pay the caster, well, they can't. And it just gets to be a mess. And so, in just my opinion, in order to be successful with this, you have to treat it as a business and not as a hobby, because that's where some people get into trouble. And I think that's part of the decline of some of the producers that aren't around anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Before we go fully down that road, let's talk about Judy.
Sure.
What a beautiful piece. Beautiful.
Another example of, you started the first question to me was, how old are you? And I don't mind telling you, I'll be 70 years old in a couple of weeks. And so that enabled me to watch television as a kid when Hanna-Barbera was at its finest. You had the Flintstones, and you had the Jetsons, and you had Bewitched. I didn't say that. With the nose and all, Yeah. But so those things from my youth sort of inform and inspire me, right, in the type of things that I want to do, both for the, modelers that are nostalgic, as well as some of the new young and upcoming modelers, to really be like this. And so I always wanted to do a piece of Judy grown up, kind of like we did with Pebbles. And so I talked to Simon about that. And initially, what I was going to do was that background with the skyscrapers and everything. I was going to do that like an animation cell. And we were going to, I was going to have an animation cell done. And then you can buy acetate and then print on that from the back, right, on the matte side of it. And the shiny side goes to the front. But when Roberto and I were, putting this together, and again, this goes to business, right? What are your costs in order to build a frame and then hire an artist to do the illustrations and then get them printed on acetate? The cost of the kit was just going to be ridiculous. And so we used it in the art. Simon used it in the art. And I may still come back one day and do that. I don't know. But we wanted to do multimedia this time. So I wanted to use acrylic and I wanted to use metal because I want the model builder to find the kits interesting to put together, right? And so we cast the tail lights in clear resin. You could paint those with, to me, a clear red. And you could run lights into them like Matt Mrozik did. And the sissy bar, I built a buck out of a 2x4. And I bent those, I found some metal rod and I built all those sissy bars myself. Roberto did the first one. And then I used his master and created a buck and built them all. And then we had a certain diameter acrylic rod because we wanted it to appear like the bike was floating, right? It's a hover bike. And then again, now Simon knows kind of how we do this. And so does Roberto. So Simon designed it so that her foot was one support and we had the acrylic rod as the other support, which really secures her.
What's
And
awesome
then
is
Roberto,
I didn't even notice the acrylic rod until you just told me today. I always thought it was just her foot holding the whole thing up, which is like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we did it. And then and another Capone job. And that was when he finished that, he goes, Mark, this is it. I can't, I'm trying to retire and I've got so much going on. And, bless his heart. No, seriously, he's been doing this, painting for other people. And so and he taught art and all that. He's just a genius. So that's how
Jason has ever heard the term buck before.
It's
when he says he built a buck.
Oh, really?
It's the like a jig, right?
Right. That's what I would call it too.
Jig.
A jig. Yeah. But I've heard him called buck. But yeah.
Well, I'm from Texas. What can I say?
Jason's, he's from 1970. We did a 5 favorite sitcoms the other day.
Yeah.
And there was nothing before 1990 for him. And I immediately went to the Honeymooners because, I remember watching the Honeymooners reruns as a kid. And I don't even think he's seen
That's a lie. You're lying to him.
What?
Seinfeld's before 90, and so is Married with Children.
Seinfeld's not before.
Well, how about the Dick Van Dyke Show?
It's funny.
Dick Van Dyke?
And Bewitched. That's like from my youth. And so back when I was a kid, so we had black and white TVs. I don't want to diverge too far with this.
Oh, no.
And the first color show I ever saw on a color TV was Adam West's Batman. It was done in color, and it was
that could almost be called a comedy.
Seinfeld debuted in
Seinfeld
debuted in 1989.
Yeah, for what, 8 episodes? Come on.
Danielle is another talent who I really admire, and I don't, I'd seen a lot of his work. He'd done work for George, and he'd done work for, a lot of the East Coast guys, and he's just such a talented guy. And so I wanted to work with him, and we started on this Pirate Girl before Belladonna was sort of the stopgap thing when I licensed the art from Matt Dixon. But I really wanted to do another Pirate Girl. So we had Treasure Island, and we did Gabriella instead. And this is another kit like Pearl, in that there's a lot of motion. If you look at both the painting and the kit itself, you can feel her brandishing that sword. You can see that pirate skeleton as he leans back with his arm. You can almost see him leaning back and feel the motion in the kit. What you don't see from that deal, and I showed people at the booth, is you can take, Jim Magnet Capone came back. I harangued him and begged, almost got down on my knees and pleaded with him to paint this kit. And you take the top off the treasure chest, and Danielle had sculpted all these coins and necklaces. It's just beautiful. And Jim rendered all of that really well. I could send you a separate picture inside the chest, and you never see it. I have one.
I'll throw it up here.
Okay. And it's stunningly beautiful. It's really, really pretty. And so if we talk about marketing, that's really one of the things that's helped us grow the company, is the way that I market and sell and build the brand. And so I just revealed teasers, and when we revealed Gabriella, it just lit up. I could tell it was going to be another kit like Pearl and like Laguna, and the paint job sells it. And I knew that it was going to hit really big, and it did. It's skyrocketed. I mean, we sold everything we had in an hour.
I love the dagger through the skeleton's head.
I know, isn't that awesome? The skull in front of the base.
Yeah.
Again, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
And then you've got the parrot. There's our critter. He's sitting on the X marks the spot sign. I mean, it's just really, it's a magnificent sculpt. It was a real challenge to get that kit made. It really was. It's just, I got really frustrated. I put it aside, and I wouldn't deal with it.
So, you say you ran through them at Wonderfest really quick. Okay. So earlier you mentioned selling out. Okay. Now, I know you bring a certain amount of kits to Wonderfest and you sell out of those. And then you sell after Wonderfest or whatever. Do you have a specific number when you say something sold out? Like, do you have a limit? Do you have a number in your head where, like, we're going to sell 50 of these and that's it? Or is it till the molds run out? What is your formula there?
Well, the plan is I can feel by the time the kit is complete and I see the sculpt, I can tell if it's going to be a hit or not. I know that it's going to be big. I knew the Aurora 2.0 was going to sell too. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I knew Gabby was going to be a big hit. So there were times when I would take kits, as many as I could take, and I might have 30 kits. And, guys like you would come by and bust my balls. It's like, well, sure, you're going to sell out. You ain't, like, the guys would give me grief because I'd sell 30 kits. Well, you need to bring some kits so you don't do that. So at Wonderfest this year, we had 74 kits. We had, I think we had 32 Gabriellas, and we had, 18 or 20 Auroras. And then I had, kits from the vault. We had some Lagunas and Nefertiti's and a whole bunch of stuff. And we sold through all of those. My goal when I go to Wonderfest is I know I can sell 50, 60 kits. And so I pushed it a little bit, and I ended up coming home with, of the 74 I took, we sold everything but 2 charge busts. So I came home with 2 kits.
Congrats, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It is awesome.
But George, that dude, he kills at Wonderfest. And he's gotten, George is one of my dear friends. And he's, again, we talked about finding a niche and finding your voice and filling that niche. And he did with those little mini busts. Those little things that are so inexpensive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really, really smart guy. And he goes to a lot of shows. I do Wonderfest and maybe an IPMS show. I've done Son of Monster Palooza, Jersey Fest, those types of things. But George he goes to a lot of shows.
Well, what I'll say about George is he's evolving with the times too. Okay. And that,
yes.
He had gone to a miniature show that Jason and I went to. It was called Hobby Expo. And when he saw all these miniatures and how, he was there with his big busts and stuff like that, he kind of said, well, hey, I got to get on that small bust wagon. And as you can see, it's done really well for him.
It really has.
They're inexpensive. So, someone can walk up and buy 15 of them and, still walk out with some money. And, So
Well-
it's yeah.
You're right. Well, look at Jimmy, right? He comes in and he brings shift knobs, and he's got a $5 bin, he's got a $2 bin, and so and this goes to understanding your customer and your audience, right? So in the film business, it's who's your audience, what's your message, and what do you want them to do after they receive that message? And so understanding who your customer is, talking to the customer, ask them what they want. Don't give them what you want. I mean, it doesn't, I talk to people and what we want another Monster Girl. Okay, well, I'm not going to go do an Alien kit or something like that just because I got the hots to do an Alien kit, because it won't sell. And so I talk to the customers and listen, right? And so at Wonderfest, all you got to do is look around that room, go around the tables, and you can tell what's selling and what's not, and what's good and what's not, right? And so,
But if you go
Jimmy
back, I
and
want to
George-
just stop you right there for
Go
a
ahead.
second. But you're able to afford to do that now because you have put in the time and the effort to build up
Yes.
your fan base. Because if you go back to your very first one, which was Daphne, it was something you wanted, right? So that's how
Right.
you started way back then. Like, this is something I want to see as a kid, but you've built up that reputation of listening to your customers and doing that and doing the right thing by them, that they will suggest, and you can do that. Whereas I think someone just getting in, it's hard. You have to have someone who has a really good idea, like you did in the beginning, to go, I'm going to try this, and then build from there.
Sure.
So I think you're a great example of how to do this the right way. It really is.
Thank you.
But to do it the right way
You know,
isn't cheap. I mean, that's
Oh.
okay. I mean, you put together a professional display backdrop that I think is different every year, or every other year. You bring buckets of free candy.
Scott ate most of it.
and like backstage passes and lanyards.
Backstage passes, stickers, what have you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a
Marketing.
it's great marketing. It's a professional looking. I would venture to guess, and people are going to say, "Oh, you're blowing havoc in here," but I would have to say that of all the dealers at Wonderfest, you have the most professional looking table there. Just given your banner and your table.
You know where I got the idea for
and,
for good displays was Sam Greenwell and one of my early Wonderfests, right? So Sam has these really unique, and I got the Fish Girl, and that's the kind of stuff I was buying, and I have it in my model room over there. So Greenwell had this multi-tiered, and he made it himself, this multi-tiered black table, and he stuck his kits up, and he had a cool little, sign and everything. I started, the Filmy's Girls banner was little bitty, I didn't have much of anything. But you're right, Scott, in that, and Jason, in that I got lucky with Daphne, because I wasn't trying to, I wasn't doing this to sell kits. I just wasn't. But I struck a chord, right?
Mm-hmm.
We kind of found that sweet spot. And
it's almost like, and I not to interrupt again, but it's almost, how Jaeger found his sweet spot too, right? With Universal Monsters. Like that became his thing. And it's like, and you found your pinup sweet spot. And I think Jesse found his sweet spot, some of the stuff he does. And I think that's what you need as a company, is to find that thing that you can do the best.
Find your niche.
Yeah. Find
your voice.
niche. Yep.
Yeah.
So-
And this is
so
what we're
I
stuck
mentioned-
with. We're stuck with this low quality piece of crap podcast.
What are you talking about? Look at your
Oh.
background. Crooked picture on the door,
not-
piles of shit behind you. At least Mark looks presentable back there. Jeez.
Hey, I got a nicer shirt on than I did for
the
last
night. Good grief. You have a neck hole
So-
stretched out.
I mentioned earlier about Purple Cow. Let me say this, and then we'll move on. So the Purple Cow is the thing I got from Seth Godin, who's a marketing genius. Seth Godin, Godin. And he's a brilliant guy. And so he wrote a book called The Purple Cow. So you're driving through the countryside with your kids, and there are cows all over the road, right? And nobody notices the cows. That's just cow after cow after cow. And then all of a sudden you come upon a purple cow. And so the kids, Daddy, pull over. I got to take a picture of this. So you pull over the side of the road and everybody gets out and they fuss over the purple cow and they pay attention to it. And then when they get home, they put their pictures on social media. They write people and tell them about the purple cow they saw and everything else. That's what I mean by, finding your voice. What is it that's unique about anything? And you guys aren't giving yourself enough credit. Scott's chattering about low podcast and all that. It's fucking brilliant, man. Right?
Well, thank you.
You're in the 100th episode. Yay. You get 100th episode. People watch it. They tune in. They talk about it. They pass them around. So you found your voice. You found your niche. And you're doing something that nobody else is doing.
Yeah.
You really are. So don't sell yourself short.
No, we're not. We like our jank. Really good. We like that's our special thing. It's jank. We're just
no, well, and we just had our picnic this last weekend, and we had people come from Ohio, Wisconsin, South Bend. We're in the Chicago suburbs, and what do we have? 15 people.
Yeah.
And your parents showed up.
Awesome.
And uninvited, and but it was and the people, and this was and Jason and I'll probably touch on this.
Yeah, we will.
Our part we're filming, but
so we have already touched on it at this point.
But they're bringing us gifts. Okay, and I'm not talking extravagant gifts, but stuff, coffee cups, books, alcohol, what have you, and it's just really touching because we don't ask for a dime. We foot the bill for the whole thing. And it's, we wish we could get more people involved. You'd think being in the Chicago area, we'd get more people, but, we will. But as people left, they were telling me, A, what a good time they had at the picnic, and B, how much they really liked the podcast. And it's like, because sometimes Jason and I get fed up and we're like, enough. But then at Wonderfest, when people recognize you, it's kind of like, hey, I watch you guys. And I'm like, I don't know what to say,
Well, let's head on over to Aurora. Let's talk about Aurora 2.0.
Let's talk about Aurora.
You're going to have people turning this damn thing off because I'm tired of that guy talking and beating his guns.
No, not at all. Because there's still stuff we got to talk about.
All right. So Aurora was one of those things that was in high demand. The original Aurora kit, I told Simon, so again, I track data and everything else. So 17% of our customers are female. They either buy for themselves, but mostly they buy as gifts because their husbands or boyfriends or whatever, they talk about, he saw it. They'll email me through Facebook or something, and he saw this kid and he really loves it. And, can I get one? I want to surprise him for Christmas. And they'll reach out to me 6 months out, And so a lot of our customers are female. And there's a lot of talented female model builders that I don't think get their due. And so I thought, well, I'd like to do a female model builder as a Filmy's girl. And so we created the original Aurora. And Simon did a beautiful deal. And so I wanted to do, like I alluded to earlier, sort of the AMT 3-in-1 kit. Well, I made this one 6-in-1 customizing kit. So I had 2 of them. Major mistake. I lost money on this kit because I spent too much putting it together. So we had one where she has her tongue in her mouth and she's spraying. And then the other one, she's got her hand on her hip with her airbrush and she's displaying the kit. So there's two different heads.
Is that the sketches you sent?
Multiple arms. Yeah, if you look at the box art, it'll say 6-in-1 customizing kit. So I had 2 different heads, a bunch of different arms, and then I had different models, right? So there was a tank and there was a vampire and there was a dragon and there's all these different models miniatures that you could build.
Yeah.
And then with the custom kit, I built a little wood floor, scratch built it, and it was an abomination. It was just not good. I wasn't real pleased with the sculpt. The anatomy was incorrect. The arms were different. So it just didn't work. And then I created a paint booth, and we had a compressor. And so the paint booth, I cut out of styrene, right? For every one of those kits, I cut this multi-paint booth, and I put a PDF in there of how to assemble it.
Oh man!
And like with Daphne, I had a CD with the paint up. It's just. I've learned a lot of lessons doing this. That's for sure. And so, even though Aurora, I sold out both kits, but it confused people. Well, don't I get this? So it was expensive. It just didn't work for me. And so people were asking for another one, and I wasn't going to remold it. Remember, I told you earlier about tracking costs and expenses, and it just wasn't worth it. But people for years had been asking me to redo Aurora. And so without telling anybody, nobody, except my inner circle, I talked to Simon, and I had him do some art and send it down to Roberto. And so it's an updated new version, and it's just stunning. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then Anya painted it. And so, like with Anya, I said, well, I kind of want her to have, I wanted to look like denim jeans are a little bit faded, and we looked at a bunch of different stuff. And so Anya wanted her to have little bows on her shoes and, things like that from a feminine perspective.
Yeah. And
so we incorporated all those suggestions into the kit. And then with Gabriella and Aurora 2.0, we started getting into using printed parts. Now, I don't think I'll ever do a fully 3D printed kit, but like Aurora's hair and some of the hands of the skeletons and everything, Matt Mrozik printed those for me. And then we wrap those up really carefully, and we include them with the resin cast pieces. So they're kind of combination multimedia pieces. And I find I can get detail that I couldn't get otherwise by using those parts. And so we hit. All the girls are lining up for Aurora, and a bunch of the guys too. I've got a backlog for both kits of more than 50 names.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. It really is.
I gotta ask, because I'm a dog lover. So the dog's looking up at her. Is that anybody's dog?
Yeah, that's my critter.
Okay.
And I wanted a husky.
Okay.
And Anya suggested, says, well, a lot of huskies have different colored eyes. You want to do different colored eyes? I said, sure. Oh, one more thing about Aurora.
Yeah.
So, I was telling you that I like to try to do different things that other people aren't doing for their kids. So we thought, well, for Aurora, in the original Aurora artwork, Simon had Pebbles and Stella as posters on the wall behind her. And so I said, well, what if I included kit boxes that people could fold up, and then I'll include labels of every single kit we ever did. So I had a medium-sized box and a large box. And in the instructions, I told them, okay, the big boxes are like Stella and Nefertiti. And I printed all these labels, and I printed all those boxes exactly like the U-line boxes that I pack them in, and I cut them out on a Cricut. And that was like, oh my God.
Is it worth getting a Cricut? Is it worth getting a Cricut as a garage kit guy? Do you think there's enough stuff you could do with it?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, it depends on how creative you are, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think, so if you buy an Aurora kit, you get 2 of the small boxes, 3 of the big boxes, and they're flat. And you can fold them like U-line, and they're scored because I use a scoring part of a Cricut, and they fold up really well. And then there's sheets with appropriate size scale label. And those boxes are to scale, by the way.
Yeah.
So they measure Aurora's, she's 1/5, like most of our kits. And then the boxes are scaled just like our other ones are, and scale labels and everything else. So we try to do something a little different from each other.
That's really cool. The last thing here I want to talk about just Wonderfest is your Best Babe Award, Best Babe Model, and sponsoring an award. How do you like doing that? How did that come about? Like, how do you judge? What are you looking for? So people might, if they're shooting for the Best Babe Model from Filmy, What do they go for?
Well, it's about the craftsmanship first and foremost. The subject matter doesn't matter to me. I mean, I've given there have been some horror models up there that were stunningly. I love the sculpt. It's not what I would do. It doesn't have to be a Filmy's Girls kit, not at all. And so I've given it to monster models. I've given it to sci-fi. You know, it's a matter of what I look for is the craftsmanship first and foremost. It has to be, from my perspective, the best paint job on a female kit that I can find. So best babe just means female kit. And so, and I can tell pretty fast, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and I know what good paint looks like. And so we run the tables, and I just look at the girl kits, and you can go, no, 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 no. And we get down to about 3 or 4 or 5. And then I'll pick what I think is best. And then I'll ask some trusted confidants, you know, people who know what they're doing. I ask Joe Nedgeberger. He comes in, and he's always a good voice, somebody to lean on. I ask Matt, those types of things. But, cool. You know, some of my friends have won it, but not because they built Filmy's Girls kit or because they're my friends. It's because they deserved it. They put the best thing on the table.
Cool. And then and my last picture here that you have, this is your line at Wonderfest. This is probably an early bird line. So if you are, if someone shows up at Wonderfest thinking they could get there at the normal time to get one of your kits, what is your advice to them?
Get an early bird pass. Get yourself a cup of coffee. If you're in that, so this has turned into a thing. Some people really hate us for this, but it's all marketing.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
so there's a whole thing about one of the things about our kits is they're collectible. We have a loyal fan base, and everybody tries to get every single kit we've done. There's a few people that have. Joe's one, Randy Van Dyke, the Murphy brothers. You know, there's a few people who have got just about all of them, but they know that they go fast. They know that they sell out. And if you really want to get one, you know, if you want to guarantee that you're going to get one, you need to be in the early bird line. And I might wait until the week of the show before I reveal what the kit is. But I'll run little teasers, right? I'll have the belt buckle of Aurora, or I'll have a skull, or you know, whatever, to sort of build it up. So it's all about, and we've built a pretty big fan base. I don't know, there's 4,000 or 5,000 people on the Facebook page, and whenever we post a picture, they pass around. So I would say we open the doors at 8:00. The Murphy brothers have been in line as early as 5:30, so they can be the first ones in line because they want to, you know, they just want to get there early and guarantee it. But if we've got, like with Gabriella and Aurora, I'd say if you're in the early bird line, you're going to get one, even if you don't get in line till 7:30 or 7:45. You're probably going to get one of the kids. It may not be the one you want, but you can get one of the kids.
Get some.
But it's really something. This year I was like, oh my God, what if nobody? I brought all these kits, and what if nobody wants one? You know. But it's pretty fun to watch when they open the doors. It's like people run.
They do. I've literally watched it, and it's yeah.
That's cool. That's got to make you feel good, though. Like, instead of just like that. That's so cool.
Well, it's clearly you have the longest line too. You know, obviously.
And it takes a little while because obviously I talk a lot, I'm a storyteller, and when people come, they want to meet Filmy, right? So Filmy is this little, let me tell you real quick. So, back in the day, I used to do these survivor boards, right? So 20 years ago. And so my handle was always Filmmaker, FILM, and then capital MKR. Same thing for the clubhouse and all this. And so some of the girls on the survivor board started calling me Filmy. It's sort of a term of endearment. So when we did Filmy's Girls, I just carried that over. That's where that came from. So every time we go to Wonderfest, my wife says, oh, you get to go be Filmy for a weekend. And that's what it is, I mean, My name is Mark, but I get to be filmy for those few hours. And I like to talk to and engage people, right? I like to chat with them and learn about them and see where they are. And that's customer service. You know, that's just being a people person.
I'm trying to see who's in line here. I'm looking. Who do I know? In this?
Well, let's go back. We're going to go back to maybe a controversial topic, and I want to get your thoughts on it, which is what happened with your Laguna piece? Because it's a night, and I don't know how much you want to talk, and we'll kind of feel our way through it. It's one of those risks that I don't think anyone could have predicted 5 years ago or 6 years ago.
No,
you know, no one would have thought of something like this happen. So why don't you walk everybody kind of through, I'll just throw Laguna back up here for a second. Walk everybody through what happened and how you came about what happened.
So about 6 months ago, I started getting I started getting messages through the Facebook page, and people were sending me links to an Etsy page where a guy had, I don't know if he scanned or hired a digital sculptor, and he copied Laguna. I mean, verbatim. And so the people that I talked to think that it was scanned. Somebody bought one of our kits, and this guy got it and scanned it. I know the guy's name. I know where he is. And we had some conversations until he blocked me. Well, they were pretty one-sided, but we had some conversations.
Yeah.
And then it went to a website that sells STL files.
Okay.
And they had like one of these deals where you sign up to their page and you pay them a monthly fee. And then once a month, they give you a free STL file. And so they were giving Laguna away as an STL file.
And that's where I saw it originally. And I was like, oh shit, that's not good.
It wasn't. And it's, I think it's part and parcel of, I will say this, I can tell you this. When I had a conversation with the guy and I said, this isn't right, man. Why didn't you just get a kit from him? And he told me, he says, I'm not going to pay $1,000 to fly across the country and go to a model show and pay $100 to get in line early. He was exaggerating the cost. And then pay $700 for a model kit when I could just spend a few $100s and then have as many as I want and sell them to all my friends, was the conversation that we had. And, I was pissed, but what are you going to do? So I have an intellectual property attorney. And fortunately, I'm in business. And if I need to engage this property attorney, we can do something. So this guy, I had conversations with the STL website that was, not conversations, it was one-sided. I said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I think they pulled it down from their site. They never responded to me. And it was up on Etsy. And George and I have had this discussion. Is it worth paying an intellectual property attorney and going after these people, because I'd ask for damages and then attorney's fees and everything else. And a lot of these folks, they don't have any money, and so it's just part and parcel, I think, of, digital sculpting and scanning and everything else. And it's only going to get worse, I think. It's part of the deal. And but not everybody's like that. The same thing has happened with Pearl here in the last week. Matt's doing a buildup of Pearl, and people are jumping in on the thread and they're going, well, hey, where can I get an STL of this? And then other guys are going, well, just send me a DM. I can get you one, or I'll create one, or I'll scan it for you and do everything. And they're really blatant about it.
Yeah.
And so I've addressed that as best I can. And if it gets really bad, then I'll just have an attorney send them a C&D. And if they don't, then we'll see about filing suit.
And I don't know about Scott, but I think the only way around this is you can't go around it. Like, it's going to happen.
Well, the unfortunate thing to me is the technology to scan will get better. And that's when it starts to get scarier.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, I think you've built up your fan base enough to where people who normally would be your customers wouldn't go buy that in the first place.
Oh, no. Our customers are loyal. Here's the scoop. I don't think that there's look, I've made my money back and profit off of Laguna and Pearl and some of our others. And so if they sell onesies and twosies, I don't know what STLs cost, what, $20 or something. I don't know what they're. These people
as
are
high
not
as
gonna
100,
get
as low as 3. So I mean, it's
so here's the real issue from my perspective. The technology makes it possible for people to do this, but it's the character of the people who are doing it. They're shitbirds and scumbags. They're thieves.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about people who do digital sculpting and printing. I'm all for that.
No. I know. Yep.
Great.
Yep.
But if your character is so bad that you'll steal somebody else's work, it's just like recasters, right? It's 21st century recasting is what it is.
And I think I think I talked about it on the show before, but you and Scott don't fall into this category. I see a lot of these people because the 3D sculptors, they don't see it, not 3D sculptors, but the STL people, the people that buy STLs don't really see a difference between that and video. Like, it's the video game generation. So they're so used to getting what they want when they want it. They're the same people that pirate video games that will pirate STLs. And they don't see a problem. I see people openly talking about pirating movies, pirating video games, pirating all that. And they're the same people that don't see a problem putting a cheat code into a video game when they're playing against other people. They're the same people. It's the video game generation that a lot of the STL people are and 3D sculptors are that don't. It's like it doesn't even register in their brain that it's someone else's. They just don't get it. And if you complain about it, they just attack you instantly. And it's bizarre.
Well, it's like in Matt's deal, people, and they assume that if it's out there, it's got to be an STL file and I can do what I want. And somebody said, no, that's Filmy's Girls' intellectual property. And they go, what's Flimsy's Girls? Right? What is that? I've never heard of them. And so Matt comes in and tries to explain, or Randy or I do, because people have never heard of they don't know it's a model yet.
Right.
They just think it's a digital file that Matt's printed and painted and so forth. And I get it. I'm not a fan of that behavior. I don't think it's proper. I think it's just but that's just the nature of the beast these days, unfortunately.
Right. Well, and like people will buy an STL file for say $20. And then they'll go sell that guy's STL file for like $3 on Etsy. And it's like, do you really need that $3 that bad? I mean, it's like,
no, that goes to their characters.
So with a few minutes left, if you could give us some insight as to how you keep your business above board. Okay. You never hear anything that, hey, Filmy's Girls ripped me off. I didn't get my kit. My kit was missing a part and I couldn't get a replacement. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you have stayed above board constantly. The only negative, of course, I ever have heard is, like you say, the pre-sales and the how many kits you bring to Wonderfest, blah, blah, blah. But to me, that's not really a negative. That's just what you choose to do and what works for you. But again, you stay above board, professional display, like I mentioned before. What is, hey, you got that Randy Van Dyke guy working for you, but that's okay. He's all right, but, how do you do it? I mean, it's just, is it like you say, character? It's just character. This is how you do business.
Yes, that's a part of it. It starts with I run it like a business. I've been very fortunate in life that I'm a creative guy. I work with wood. I build models. I write. I make movies. I photograph. I'm one of the lucky people in the world that found what he was put on the earth to do. And I've had challenges in my life. Of some of them. We don't need to go into here. But I've had difficulties, and I've been able to still just keep going. And those are character building moments. They really are. I think that people who are honest and straightforward and are respectful to others and kind to people, I try to be a good guy, kind of at my core. In terms of Filmy's Girls and Futuristic Retro and Space City Films and Marsland Company, I try to build companies that people would want to interact with. You know, if I was somebody, an inspiration for me in terms of the way I produce my kits were Janus, because everybody raved about Janus kits and the certificates of authenticity, and I put oil seals and all that. So they inspired me to try to strive for something above average. And I think that but by doing that and creating those kind of kits, so we built a base that people want to interact with. In terms of doing business, people who are shitbirds and thieves, and you know, they don't do what they say they're going to do, and they don't last. And so I've had Space City Films. Will be 30 years. I founded it 30 years ago after leaving NASA, after a career at NASA Johnson Space Center. And so I've kept that business alive. Always, if I would give advice to anybody, always do more than's expected of you. Don't lie, cheat, steal. If you can't deliver, say so. If you can't do something, just say that. You know, communicate, talk to your customers, talk to your friends, and treat people with respect. And I think if you do that, you'll be successful. And never, ever, ever ask for money until you have a product to sell.
I think that's an amazing place to leave it. Like, that is some perfect advice to go.
Oh no, I got one question. I can't believe
Oh, okay, all right.
You haven't asked it, so I'm going to give Mark a chance to toot his own horn just a little bit here. Okay, and I can't believe you either haven't noticed or whatever. Tell us about the Emmy Award that's on your shelf behind you, Mark, and what's because I mean, I know you won an Emmy. I forget what for and all that, but it's for those that don't know, go ahead, toot your own horn here a little bit. Tell us about it.
Well, it's I built an amazing team at Space City Films. You know, my son was my cinematographer and one of my producers before he passed. We had editor Phil Sexton, who was great. Alex Diaz was a great vice president. And we had a tremendous crew, Ryan Nguyen and, you know, Bob Sauls, a bunch of people. Well, so we primarily do space films. About every second year, we do a giant screen film. We did a giant screen film. Well, so I wanted to do a personal thing about exploration. I wanted to tell the story of a little girl who grew up around her grandpa's farm, and he would take her out in the fields at night, and they would look up and see the Milky Way go over. And one time they saw the space shuttle go over. And so I wanted to tell the story about that little girl grew up and became a commander of the first mission to Enceladus, one of Jupiter's moons, ice planet. And so we created a bunch of CGI, you know, generating the ships, and it was a very personal story that I wanted to tell called Soul of the Explorer. And I wrote it like a poem. It's very poetic structure. And I shopped it around to a lot of my aerospace people, and they're like, you know, we're just not interested. So I did it myself. I bankrolled it myself. We produced a film with Austin shooting and, you know, just the whole team pitching in. We had the lady that runs the suit lab at Johnson Space Center. And so we created this deal. We shot in some of the mock-ups at JSC, the Orion mock-ups, and put together this film called Soul of the Explorer. And then we submitted it for an Emmy, and it won. So, you know, it was a milestone in my life, and one of the things that I'm very proud of. And, you know, we got lucky because there are a lot of people making good movies out there. But again, it kind of goes back to my philosophy about building companies. None of this is a solo endeavor. You know, Filmy's Girls is not me. You know, I'm Mark. I just do the business side, but it's the team you put together and the people that contribute to it is what makes things go.
Mark, if I had an Emmy, it would be sitting right here. Okay, while we did this interview. All right, I'm just saying. All right, shit. If I had a Wonderfest gold medal, it'd be sitting right here. Okay, so
I want to say something to you guys here real quick. I know you're tired of beating my gums.
Oh no,
my God, this is a ridiculous. Scott, cut out 3/4 of this. Okay, it's just too much. But I want to tell you guys, I'm honored that you let me come on the show. I really am. I know you have people banging on your door to be on this thing. Scott and Jason, we've talked about this in years past, and it's just I've been kind of worried about it be perceived if I come on the show. But thank you for letting me do this. You guys are contributing something it fills a niche in this hobby that nobody else is doing, and I don't think anybody does it better than you do. You're both great guys, and I wouldn't have done this.
I don't compliment well, but
not
thank
him,
you.
not him. No, not him. Not him.
See, I appreciate hearing that,
Mark.
I
appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. And Scott, I'll have the big bar candy for you this next year.
Remember, nothing with nuts. I like all my candy female.
That's a lie. Oh my God. I was going to say, you love the.
So here's the Filmy's Girls bucket right here. That's
real quick.
You need, by the way, a 5-gallon bucket for when I come around. I mean,
get you one of the big Home Depot buckets.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Oh my God. Is there any way you could give a hint at what's coming for Wonderfest this year? Any new kits, new stuff?
Yeah, there'll be a new kit or maybe a second. I've kind of alluded to the one that might be a possibility.
Okay.
But there will be another one, and I'm not going to give that away. It kind of goes to the marketing thing.
I get you, but just
participation and FOMO and
but when it gets closer, if you want to come on and tease it,
all right,
anytime,
by all means, even if you just want to do like a 15-minute teaser or something, we'll do that. That's no problem.
All right, I tell you what else I'll do. I'll send you guys. You pick. You can have Gabriella or Aurora 2.0, and then you guys can do whatever you want to with it.
Scott, you pick.
You pick.
No, Scott, you pick.
Why don't you just pick and then let me know? You don't have to do it right now.
Okay, we'll do it. Okay.
But pick and let me know.
We'll do it right now. Just so you know, we'll give it away.
Yeah.
In a raffle like we do all the time. So far, we've not kept a single thing anyone's given to it, and it's hard sometimes. Someone will send us something. Yeah. Oh man, I really want that. But
I can either ship it to you, or I can drop ship it for you. You give me a winner name, and I can drop ship it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. You hear that, everybody? You got a Filmy's kit that's going to be on the line next time. So very cool, very cool. Thank you so very much for being here today.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
So much.
No, you didn't. And I'm so happy that things have gone this way for you with your company, Filmy's Girls. So keep up the good work. Keep making a good name for us out there in the kit land.
We can reach Filmy's Girls on Facebook.
Yeah, the best thing. So if you want to get the scoop as to what the next kit will be, or get the teasers or everything else, go to facebook.com/Filmy's Girls. So FILMYSGIRLS.com.
Okay.
And follow us on Facebook. I mean, it's a great community. And we get a lot of interaction with our customers. And
link will be down below.
I want to know what you folks think.
Yep.
I want to know what you think. So send me a DM on Facebook. Let me know what kind of kits you like, or what kind of subjects you might want to do, because we do talk to our customers, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, man. We'll
I think you got to do a dude model, like a Jason Walker podcast guys or something.
No.
You guys already have model kits.
Yeah, we already got.
I know, isn't it scary? What's scary is there's people that have built. There was one in the contest this year. It's so scary.
That's awesome.
It's weird. Mark, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care. That was Mark. Thanks, Mark. That was great. Thanks for joining us, man.
Good.
And yeah, anytime you want to come back, show something, come on back. So that was great. Whew. All right, Workbench, Scott. Anything? Why break tradition on this 100th episode?
Well, I've been busy with the picnic.
Yeah, that ate up a lot of our time, and I did put a little more color down on my mummy. I put some purple in there. Been working on it. Yeah, that's it. Workbench. It's, I didn't knock Godzilla over again. You know what's weird, Scott? On episode 100, we don't have any emails. We don't have any voicemails. All right, I'm sitting here editing, and I realized in the middle of all the chaos, there was an email that came in kind of in the middle of show prep stuff, so I missed it. So I'm going to read this one email we got. Here we go. From Robert Trock. Congratulations on hitting the 100th episode milestone. What else is there left to talk about? See below. I posted this on the Clubhouse a couple weeks ago, and there have been a couple of additions. Amazingly enough, it looks like MCTV will soon hit 100 episodes. Why was this allowed to happen? Well, now that we're almost there, it's time for some totals of things that have taken place over all the episodes. 500 gallons. That's the amount of sugary exclamation point swear words that Johansson drank. That's probably true. 390 pounds. The weight total of all the stuff Jason has dropped onto the floor. Yeah, checks out. 3,427. The amount of times the hosts laughed at their own jokes. 426. 89. The number of times Tucky's ghost had told Johansson to fuck himself. Yes. 2,345. The number of times Tucky's ghost told Walker to go fuck himself. Yeah, that checks out too. 10,000. The number of times we heard about Gil and Worthling. Hey, they're the ones that send stuff in the most. Keep doing it. You want to get on that 10,000 list? Send us stuff. Quarter cup. The amount of resin used by all the fans that printed those figures of the two hosts. 7,800. The number of times Bigfoot has been mentioned. 5 years. The amount of time since the last official Model Club event. Oh, and thanks for all the great guests, information, and keeping this hobby going. I've met a few new people because of it and hope that more producers show their stuff here. Even Tucky would have been happy to show his new stuff. A toast to 100 more episodes. Robert T. Thank you, Robert. That's a great email. Back to the show. And corrections? Not really?
Yes.
Let's see if you have the same correction in mind that I have.
Okay. Correction is this. Okay. For those that didn't read the comments in the last episode. Okay.
I had the same thing in mind.
The corrections are this. Not everybody likes everything somebody does. Okay. And I think most people can accept some constructive criticism. That being said, don't be an asshole. Okay? Because if you're an asshole, and Jason and I have discussed this, we're not going to delete your comments. We're going to leave them up there so everybody can see what an asshole you are. Okay? And this person, who I won't name, but he knows who he is.
Everybody does, yeah.
But he knows who he is. Okay. And tried to hide it by saying he was being funny. Okay. Wasn't funny. Wasn't even an attempt at humor. I offered to write jokes for this guy a couple episodes ago. He told me I wasn't funny. I know I'm funnier than he is. But anyway, it was uncalled for. It was, and we were going to leave it up. Okay.
And the sad thing is I didn't screenshot it, and I wish I did.
Yeah, and I wish you did too, just because when people ask, we could show them.
So
Okay.
I will say that what would go a long way for me would be a private apology to Jerry and just say, hey, man, sorry. And that would be fine. I'd be fine with that. So you got, if you want to work it out and do that way, or if you don't, that person might not even be listening now. But this is our one correction. And we're going to put this out to everybody. Please. Again, constructive criticism.
Okay.
Done in a polite way. It's acceptable.
Okay, so, and what's funny is one of the points he was making was the detail on the microphone of the kit we showed. Okay, which I made that same point when you showed it, and then you showed a close up, and I said, "Oh, there's the detail." I was okay, and understand when you're looking at stuff, when you're watching us, you're looking at little pictures this big.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing, but.
I get it. And let's leave it there because I don't want to spend more time on this, but I'm just to everyone, please be nice. As Paul Gill even said, this is supposed to be positive. This is supposed to bring our community together. And I think as we leave this 100th episode, I think you will agree with me because we had this conversation. I think the best thing that's happened with this show is that we've met some really good people. We've made some really good friends. And I don't want to like lose friends over this or lose people that we've met over this. But let's keep it civil and keep it as I think in 100 episodes to have something like that be the one maybe one or two times or something, like there hasn't been much of it, which with the internet, the way the internet is, I'm shocked by. Like this could go off the rails all the time. And I applaud everybody for keeping it on the rails almost all the time. And let's just keep doing that going forward. We're a family. Do all families get along all the time? No. Do Scott and I get along all the time? No. Do we want to kill
argument
each
today, as a matter of fact?
Yes, we did.
He tried to drag my best friend into it.
Your best friend was on my side. So
He was not. He was just humoring you.
oh, okay.
You just sounded like his dad. Come on.
But anyway,
But no, be nice.
be nice.
Okay? It's okay not to like,
Yes.
like I told Havican today. Your kits are not the genre of kits that I would normally buy. Okay.
But you can appreciate them.
But I can look at them and say positive things. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I couldn't say positive things, probably wouldn't say anything at all. Okay. So it's,
And let's leave it at that. And I get it. But please.
and again, don't pitch if you can't catch. Because I'm going to defend our viewers and I'm going to defend our guests.
Yeah, especially people that go
Okay.
out of their way. Like, come on. Like, I don't know. All right, it's too much time. Thank you everyone for all these 4 years. It's been awesome to see the community come together around our dumb show and to build a new community, really. We've met some great people and I'm humbled. I really am. I didn't think we'd be here. Like, I think I said we would. Most podcasts, and I think I told you this in the beginning, when I was doing my research on how to start a podcast, most podcasts end after 8 episodes. Most people give up after 8 because it just becomes too much work. And the advice I heard was just do it. You got to get on a schedule and just keep doing it. And we have. And I think we're doing okay. And we'll keep going. Things will change. You might miss an episode once in a while because I don't want, and I'm sure it's the same for you. I don't want this to get in the way of my life and relationships, and I don't think you do either. So if we ever have to miss once in a while, I hope everyone understands. Or if we're late on an episode, which I've done my best. I don't think have I ever been late? I don't think so. We've only missed the one, a model in a movie, and it was this last one. So thank you. And I mean that. I couldn't be more appreciative of everyone who's ever watched even a minute of this show, donated something, sent in a picture, sent in a comment, sent an email, left a voicemail,
approached us in
us,
person.
said hi, sent us gifts. Like, that's the weirdest thing. Giving us presents, just it's so humbling to see. And thank you everyone. And we'll still be here.
101.
If you want to send us a voicemail, let's see if the buttons work. Oh, look at that. 708-816-4299 is the voicemail number. 708-816-4299. And the email, modelclubtv@gmail.com. We have a joint unboxing coming. I have to edit at some point.
Oh boy.
And let's see if I can pull. We had camera issues. We'll see if we can pull that together. But Scott, parting words.
Thank you for 100 episodes, or however many I did. I maybe have.
You were there for 100 for me in my head. So,
but and thanks to all the support we've had, and like Jason said, thanks to all the people that came to the picnic. The Worthlings coming from Florida. Amazing. Of course, I had to buy him lunch, you had to buy him dinner, because that's what a cheap bastard Mark is. But I mean, in the meantime, his wife's walking around with the diamond ring on her finger this big.
You're never going to get over the diamond, are you? You're never going to get over it.
Never going to get over the diamond. No. No, never going to get over the diamond.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Episode 101. That's weird.
Model Club 101. It's almost like a class.
It will be a class. All right. We'll talk to you next time. Stay around for the gallery. Good stuff coming. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Say goodbye, Scott.
Goodbye, Scott.
So Scott, Troy, how's the likeness? What do you like?
I think for me,
Hold on, I gotta look. Did you put it in a Google thing?
See here. This is where Scott doesn't prep. Yes,
No, Scott got here late.
There is a slide. There is a slideshow. We'll edit that out.
Give me a second. Hold on. Give me a second, and then you can re-ask the question.
Okay.
Gee, there we go.
And then Troy, you could talk about the two heads.
yes, yeah, that's why we did it in two different heads. I just wanted like the older Neil and the younger Neil.
Wait, hold on. Wait, don't say that yet. Hang on. We'll wait till Scott gets his pictures up.
Okay.
And we're gonna redo all this.
Well, you didn't tell me you
just
were
this question.
putting pictures up. You never tell me anything.
Yeah, it's true. Never.
Surprise.
Troy, you want to do a podcast? Because I'll get out of this in a hurry. Okay. This is not hard to get out of. This is like throwing away dirty underwear. Okay, that I craft myself in. Oh yeah, you're recording. This will be on the blooper reel.
Yeah, yes, it will.
Okay,
You two work well together. You complement each other well.
There we go. Let me get that over here. Did you slideshow it, or did you just?
There's a slideshow. It's in the main images folder.
All right, wait, hold on. Because I see Troy Rush.
That's it. Well, there's a folder, and then there's a
slideshow
in the Google Images folder.
Not in this one.
Not in the one that says Troy Rush. That's only where pictures.
That's what I just asked you.
No, I told you before that in the main image.
Somebody shoot me. Oh, there it is. Shadow Creations. Model kits for today's collector. And yesterday's. Okay. Hold on.
All right.